Ledmar, we are square. I am right there. All set. Hello, hello.
All right, welcome everyone to a very exciting evening. Please note for the record, the board convened an executive session to consider collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law and matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion of a particular person or persons. I'd like to call the public meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. We could all please stand. There's the flag in the corner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we would like to start by turning it over to our esteemed superintendent, Dr. DeRizzo, for tenure recognition.
Okay. All right. We're going to do these from up here, I think. Okay. I'm going to wreck the joint at my last board meeting. That's not good. Okay. Good evening, everyone. How are you? So good to see you. And some people I haven't seen in a long time. So, welcome back. It's great. Okay. Tonight is a terrific night, and my remarks are up. Thank you so much. Thank you. Absolutely. That's what I figured. I have pens too. I'll take care of this. Okay, so tonight is actually one of my very favorite nights of the whole year. It's a night of lots of good news. We are recognizing the achievements of our tenure candidates, and we are celebrating our retirees. And so we do that all together. It's very circular. And so what I will do is I will speak with you about what all this night is. We will one by one go through our tenure candidates. Each of the principals and or directors have something to say about you. And oh, where's Elliot K? You've stepped it up from daisies and give you a rose this year. So this is all very good. So as we get started, I want to say congratulations and welcome to the tenure class of 2021, our retirees, our family, friends, and faculty members, and all of the Viking alumni who are here. As I begin, I wanted to just offer my congratulations to our tenure candidates this evening. There are 18 of you. And as you could likely imagine, these are some of the most important decisions that I am charged with making. And I've gotten to know all of you. And it is a true honor that you are my final recommendations to tenure in North Shore. With the exception of only a few of you who may have been in leave replacement positions, I've hired all of you. And without exception, I've recommended all of you to your probationary positions. So I am excited that North Shore is in excellent hands, and I'm so proud of all of you, and I wish you all congratulations. Okay, and also tonight, we celebrate 22 retirees who possess a collective service to the North Shore Public Schools of, does anybody want to take a guess of how many years? I do this every year. How many years do you all have together?
Are you including Jean Paul?
I'm including all of the retirees.
Wow.
All right, you're shot. 523. Amazing, and thank you. You represent every aspect and level of our school system, K through 12. You've touched the lives of thousands of children. And in fact, if I had grown up here in North Shore, a few of you may have even touched my life, but I'm not going to go there. All right. On a more serious note, we have a lot of speakers here tonight, and so I'll get to that in a second. But on behalf of the board, the administration, the parents, and most especially the children of North Shore, I wish to thank you for the love and the care and the dedication you have given and shown to these children and our staff members over those collective 523 years. Amazing. So I will conclude with my thanks on behalf of our almost 800 employees, our 2,600 students, retirees. You've served North Shore and our students well. I'm especially delighted for you as you embark upon whatever new adventures lie ahead for you. And I know that you will all continue to do great things. We leave North Shore together, and I'm better for knowing each and every single one of you. So thank you. And I extend my heartfelt wishes for good luck to all. Enjoy your evening. And from the bottom of my little Viking heart, I thank you. So know that you will always be welcome, and I hope that you visit often, and we will miss you very, very much. Okay. So I'm going to get started because I'm here, and as you can see, I'm keep losing things. So I'm going to start, and then Mr. Marino, I'm going to turn it over to you if you don't mind to speak for Joe. Okay. So we have two tenure candidates in the administrative position ranks this year, and it is a real deep honor and privilege to recommend Mr. Christopher Marino to tenure as our Director of Special Education. Mr. Marino is a caring and thoughtful and dedicated leader who brings stability and skill to the special education department. He is knowledgeable of the continuum of services and a strong advocate for students with special needs. I have enjoyed supporting him over these past 4 years, and his trajectory of learning, growth, and confidence in the role has grown in exponential ways. He is conversant in regional programming, and together with his team, he has strengthened North Shore's program. Through his leadership, North Shore enjoys a full ICT model at the elementary level for each grade level. He is also extremely astute and is sensitive to the needs of parents and teachers. Chris has the unique talent of being both an empathic listener and a problem solver. He hears concerns, he validates them appropriately, and then he seeks to find common ground, always for the benefit of students. In his words and actions, Chris sees the CSE process as one of consensus and collaboration. He is flexible yet principled in his approach to student placement and all aspects of his work. Chris's humility is one of his best character traits. He also has an amazingly dry sense of humor that I adore. He is independent in his work, but will always call or seek to meet to discuss his thought processes. I enjoy these conversations as they always are student-centered and focused on the best outcome for students. His instincts for negotiating complex conversations are strong, and he engages in difficult conversations with respect and with patience. And so it is for these reasons and countless others that I am excited to recommend Chris to tenure without reservation. Come on up.
Good evening. I'm here to speak about my assistant director, who's been here with me for 4 years now, Joseph Kissinger. Mr. Kissinger has demonstrated tremendous growth over the course of the past 4 years at North Shore Schools. He's a strong advocate for our students, is unwavering in his commitment to eliminating barriers for students with disabilities. Joe has exemplary decision-making skills and can apply his breadth of knowledge specific to special education regulations in all stages of the CSE process. He is measured and balanced as a CSE chairperson and consistently gathers meaningful input from all essential stakeholders, including his parents, students, and teachers. He promotes a high collaborative atmosphere in which all voices are heard and differing perspectives are embraced. He is responsive to parental concerns and promptly follows up, often meeting with families and students to find a shared solution to a problem or challenge. He actively supports the continuous growth of our special education teachers through professional development opportunities. He has effectively promoted the ongoing expansion of our special education programs, and to that end, he has worked closely with our colleagues to create innovative programmatic opportunities for our students based on their unique individual learning needs. He is steadfast in his belief that all students with disabilities should be afforded every opportunity to be educated alongside their peers. He's played a pivotal role this year in ensuring most of our vulnerable students, if not all of them, were able to return for daily in-person instruction throughout the pandemic. We can say to Joe on a personal note, it's not unusual for Joe to call on me on a random weeknight or a weekend to work troubleshoot a problem or an issue while he attempts to put his young children to sleep. I truly appreciate and value his commitment to his work and the work of the department. He's committed and just somebody I've really trusted and have relied on in the last 4 years. I don't think I'd be standing up here without him if it wasn't for his support. So I really greatly appreciate all you've done. And it's without reservation, I recommend Joseph Kissinger for come over.
Okay, so we'll take these by school. Normally, we go, Glenwood Landing usually goes, I think if I recall, you go first, but whenever I do alpha order, it's always Glen Head. So how do you want to handle that? Dr. Rufo, come on up. You don't have any? Okay, Glenwood Landing, sorry.
Good evening. Can I have my teachers come down? Is that okay? Okay. And I have Carol and Deborah with me because they help me supervise and evaluate. Okay, I'm going to go alphabetically. So, Board of Education. I present to you Kathleen Grassi. Kathleen is a fourth grade classroom teacher at Glenwood Landing School. Kathleen came to North Shore with a wealth of experience teaching in a private school with a very different philosophy on teaching and learning, and 1 year in New York City schools. She embraced the challenge and demonstrated extraordinary reflection and commitment to her own professional growth in order to create a student-centered atmosphere. Her students take responsibility for their own learning by setting goals and measuring their success. Kathleen provides excellent clarity when providing instruction. Her success with students is partially based upon her ability to present complex concepts in an organized manner. Students' executive functioning skills improve tremendously under her guidance. Kathleen gets to know her students well, which contributes to their participation and engagement. She designs assignments and lessons that are exciting, challenging, and motivating for her students. For these reasons and many more, I recommend Kathleen for tenure. Sorry. Next up, I have Barbara Grego. Hi. Barbara is a regular education teacher in the fifth grade integrated co-taught class. She was a teacher in New York City Department of Education before making her way to North Shore schools. I often describe Barbara's classroom as a magical place based on her way with children. Barbara brings out the best in all learners. She has an excellent command of content and curriculum within a workshop model. The well-organized and reflective planning complement the management of instruction and the sound delivery of instructional tasks. She carefully crafts differentiated lessons that build upon each student's strengths. Student participation is purposeful and aligned with the fifth grade standards and shared valued outcomes. She holds her students responsible for measuring their own growth through a process of goal setting, data collection, and reflection. Barbara quietly contributes to her grade level colleagues and helps to create a strong foundation for all of her students as they prepare to enter middle school. For these reasons and many more, I recommend Barbara for tenure. Okay. Gia Negoshian. Gia is a third grade teacher who previously taught in Oneonta after completing her degree there. Moving to a teaching position in North Shore offered Gia the chance to fine-tune her teaching and put more of the responsibility on the students. She has grown an excellent student herself. She has been an excellent student herself, demonstrating reflection and growth along the way. She understands the impact of quality instruction, organization, and planning. Gia manages her workshop teaching well and provides maximum opportunities to increase the learning potential of all students. She is a collaborative colleague valued by her students, parents, and colleagues. Gia's classroom is a child-centered place where students feel comfortable taking risks in order to demonstrate growth. Just last night, she was selected as one of the 10 finalists for the Herald's Teacher of the Year award. She was nominated by a student who wrote the submission all by herself. For these reasons and many more, I recommend Gia for tenure. Sarah Stevens. Sarah is a special education co-teacher currently in kindergarten. Her thorough knowledge of the principles, practices, and procedures of special education enhance the lives of her young students. She possesses a strong knowledge of methodology of effective teaching of students with disabilities. Sarah creatively strives to meet the needs of all students by studying each student's IEP plan, as well as learning students' strengths and areas of focus. She has valuable insights into how to reach all students and eliminate the barriers that each child is presented with. Sarah is a valuable resource to the special education department and collaborative colleague who shares her expertise willingly. For these reasons and many more, I recommend Sarah for tenure. Okay. Next up, we have Katie Weber. Katie received tenure back in March, but we thought she deserved to be recognized tonight. Katie Weber. Katie is an extraordinary teacher of both children and adults. As Glenwood Landing's literacy coach, her combination of depth of knowledge, creativity, compassion, and respect have enabled her to develop trust with her colleagues and to help bring out their best. Katie respects the talent, expertise, and decision-making ability of each of the wonderful teachers at Glenwood Landing. She works with them as a colleague, looking at best practices together and encouraging them to try new and better methods to meet the needs of students. When teachers are in need of support, Katie will give her all to them, visiting their classrooms regularly, providing demonstrations, coaching the teacher as the teacher tries it out, and debriefing with the teacher and listening to the teacher plan their next moves. Katie is incredible at finding and supplying teachers with appropriate resources to match the needs of their students. She designs creative professional development sessions in which she clearly introduces new ideas and gives students the opportunity to discuss and explore these. Katie is such a joy to work with, always thoughtful, always flexible, always willing to go the extra mile to help in any way she can. This year, we required her to teach second grade because of the pandemic, and she took on the new role with enthusiasm. Because her philosophy and beliefs about learning are so strong, she quickly figured out ways to enable buddy reading and peer writing conferences while maintaining safety during the pandemic. And we shared them with her colleagues, so even when out of the coaching role, Katie was a leader and a model for all of us. Throughout this year, to step into her classroom was such a treat. The children showed such wonder and joy while learning. Katie brings exceptional teaching talent, a can-do attitude, and fabulous leadership to collegiality with her work. For these reasons and many more, I recommend Katie for tenure.
Good evening, Board of Education. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jeanette Wojcik, the principal of Seacliff School, and I have the wonderful pleasure of speaking on behalf of Miss Amy Roberts this evening. Amy, can you come on up? Stand right next to me. So, Miss Amy Roberts is a kindergarten teacher at Seacliff School and embodies the North Shore SVO of a committed individual. With every action that Amy takes in the education of her students, she demonstrates commitment and intentionality. She engages her students in their first introduction of their formal education and plants the roots for their future, building a deep love of learning. She encourages an atmosphere of acceptance and sets expectations where students can achieve their truest potential. Throughout her probationary period, Ms. Roberts has demonstrated her commitment to her students and their learning. She has grown and developed as a child-centered educator who thoughtfully designs and facilitates meaningful student-centered learning experiences through which students construct meaning and develop their ability with processes and skills. Ms. Roberts seeks out and is highly responsive to feedback. She seeks out and actively contributes in professional learning experiences and employs her learning to enhance the growth of her students. She truly exemplifies what it means to be a reflective practitioner and a lifelong learner. Ms. Roberts develops strong and impactful relationships with her students. She demonstrates her care and concern for them as individuals and learners, and often goes well above and beyond to support both her students and their families. Additionally, Ms. Roberts is an extremely valued member of the school community. She collaborates well with her colleagues and participates actively in school events and makes meaningful contributions to the school community that supports and fosters connections among students and colleagues alike. Seacliff School is so very fortunate to have a committed educator with Ms. Roberts. It is for these reasons and many more that I recommend her for tenure.
Thank you. I love you so much. You're wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
Good evening and congratulations to everyone tonight. I also wanted to congratulate Ariadna and Michael. While I don't know your class well at all as seniors, I know today was your high school graduation. And I also wanted to congratulate Eric Contreras for leading his first high school graduation in North Shore. Everybody should be so proud tonight. You know, this getting tenure in a pandemic is unbelievable. And I have never done what you have had to do in the classroom this year, and you've all adapted so beautifully for all of our students. I have the pleasure of recommending 3 important members of our North Shore Middle School community for tenure tonight. The first is Mr. Ben Benfield. Come on up, Mr. Benfield. There's an expression, earth without art would just be eh. That speaks volumes to the contributions of Mr. Benfield to North Shore Middle School, and is particularly true this year. North Shore Middle School Art Department this year has stepped up in so many ways and provided unique opportunities for students, but the reality is we have been without Mr. Benfield as he has been working with the students at Seacliff Elementary School this year. And yes, while we have triumphed in the arts, we have felt his absence and admittedly are without him. Ben Benfield's contributions to the K-12 art program and specifically at the middle level are immeasurable. In his time in our district, he has distinguished himself as a respectful, collaborative, and creative thinker and problem solver, embodying all that we hold dear in our shared values. He has taught elementary and middle level art, studio art, and has enriched our elective classes, including photography, videography, ceramic sculpture, and drawing and painting. His students are welcome to his campfire setting and encouraged to share their perspective and feedback about the work being discussed and developed. Ben is skilled at providing meaningful and actionable feedback, and his students reap the benefits as they see their artistry progress throughout the year. Mr. Benfield is one of the many kid magnets that I am fortunate to work with in our building. He is a chameleon in his approach, able to connect with the most passionate artists, the reluctant yet to be discovered artists, and the struggling learners. His work with his colleagues on the co-taught team has enriched his classroom experience, and he is a positive role model for many of the students in our ICT program. He is calm, cool, collected, and makes a positive influence every single day. This year, when faced with a difficult decision to find a teacher who can conduct in-person classes at Seacliff, Ms. Rodriguez and I both immediately knew the painful, obvious answer, Mr. Benfield. While he has helped develop the skills of the young artists at Seacliff School this year, we cannot wait for Ben to return to our building. He has been missed, and we are looking forward to his continued contributions. For these reasons and many more, I am honored to recommend Ben Benfield for tenure this evening and look forward to continued success at North Shore Middle School. All right, Karen Danielle is up next. The role of a school social worker, in addition to being vital in a school, is among the most complex and ever-changing roles one can have. And yet, Karen Danielle has assumed her many responsibilities as social worker with a growing confidence, an intimate knowledge of her students and their families, and a spirit of collaboration that allows her to be an integral member of our school student support team. To say Ms. Danielle has many talents is an understatement. She is a creative problem solver, a thoughtful and feedback-oriented leader, a collaborative partner, and a staunch advocate for all of her students and the students on her caseload, many of whom come to the middle school day in and day out with complicated family and social dynamics. The trait that stands out the most to me as I reflect on Karen's work is her keen ability to quietly observe, assess a situation, and brainstorm ways to problem solve. In many regards, Ms. Danielle's approach to her work at North Shore Middle School speaks true to our school's shared values. Awarding tenure to Ms. Danielle is a natural consequence of honoring and recognizing the 4 years of important contributions she has made to the middle school. In her time as school social worker, she has helped to improve communication and collaboration among our SST. She has led our first ever Everyone Matters Day to provide students with the opportunity to reflect on stress reduction and substance abuse, run social groups with girls focusing on aspects of self-confidence, provided workshops to parents and students on the dangers of substance abuse, spearheaded events such as Red Ribbon Week, supported our 7th grade Challenge Day program, and provided counseling and recommendations to families in moments of crisis. Ms. Danielle approaches each of these tasks and the many more that are unnamed tonight with an astute sense of pause and reflection, a keen ability to listen in order to learn, and a heart that always supports the best interest of students. North Shore Middle School is a better place because of Ms. Danielle's contributions. For these reasons and many more, I am honored to recommend Karen Danielle for tenure this evening and look forward to continued success at North Shore Middle School. Natalie Woods, come on up. She's here with 4 Woods people. That's like a forest. Too many Woods. Spend a day in the teacher's workspace of the 2020-2021 school year, which, as you know, at the middle school, is either the gym or the cafeteria, and ask staff members to name the one person who was one of the most staunch advocates for the self-contained students in our building. Without doubt, I can promise you that you will hear 2 words repeated over and over: Natalie Woods. In her role as special education teaching assistant, Mrs. Woods is the perfect combination of caring, organized, thoughtful, collaborative, diligent, and creative. For the last few years, Natalie has made the 8th grade self-contained program her home, and she is the perfect fit for the students that she and her colleagues support. Mrs. Woods strikes an important and difficult balance in demonstrating the notion of tough love to her students. And I use this terminology with the utmost respect and deep understanding of Natalie's passion and commitment for her students and their families. She is a constant throughout their day in all of their academic classes, works collaboratively with the classroom teachers and teacher aide to discuss upcoming lessons, assignments, expectations, units of study, and assessments. Mrs. Woods cares deeply about her students and demonstrates care in each and every one of her interactions with them. She can tell you the name of the book one student is reading, the score of last night's Mets game, and the latest craze in video games, quite simply because she cares about her students, their lives, and takes an active interest in them. Mrs. Woods has high expectations for her students and is able to be caring yet firm. She wants the absolute best for them, and with high school success in mind, is able to strategically decide when appropriate scaffolds and modifications are important and when the gradual release of responsibility is better suited for the child. It is no doubt that this school year has been the most difficult one in our professional lives. For Mrs. Woods, that means nothing. She still shows up to NSMS day in and day out and gives it her all. In fact, it is because of Mrs. Woods' planning and advocacy that she and her students traveled to the Bronx Zoo last month. Natalie planned the trip and provided an authentic and normal experience for her students. For these reasons and many more, I am honored to recommend Natalie Woods for tenure this evening and look forward to continued success at North Shore Middle School.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Rob, for those kind words. One more.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to share a few words about Julia Kim, teacher of English as a new language. She received tenure earlier this year. Ms. Kim has worked with our English language learners at the high school, the middle school, and with remote learners at the elementary school. Ms. Kim is an educator, a mentor, and an advocate for her students and their families. She designs her lessons that support content comprehension while supporting English language acquisition. She ensures that all English language learners are provided with the opportunity for academic growth and success. She has high standards and encourages and nurtures her students to reach their highest potential. Ms. Kim has also played an integral role in strengthening the home-school connection with our families of English language learners in the community. She welcomes them to have a voice in their child's education. Ms. Kim also spearheaded the creation of the ENL website to ensure that parents are informed of current school information, as well as posting opportunities to help families assimilate. One of her greatest strengths is how she celebrates each of our L's heritage and cultures. It is with this cultural understanding she is able to bring relevance to the classroom, which makes the learning come alive for her students. Thank you.
So once again, would like to thank the entire North Shore community for a fabulous graduation. Ariadna, Michael, congratulations. I really, really felt like a Viking today, and I'm very proud of it. Tonight, before I start reading the teachers' names, just like you, Rob, I think that the work this year was tremendously difficult and challenging on so many levels. In the middle of the year, someone asked me, how are teachers doing? I said, they are being courageous. They were teaching in cold classrooms. They were eating lunch in their cars. They were making it seem like it was normal when things weren't normal. And when kids walked across the stage today, someone said it felt like normal. And that was because the courageous work of teachers, those that are being recognized for tenure today, and those that are already in our classrooms, and those that are awaiting tenure, for being who they are and bringing normal to our kids. So we will begin with Ms. Risa Berg-Belani. You can please come up. So this is on behalf of myself and Dan Doherty, Director of Guidance. And just before I start, I want to say when I first met Risa, I've been having many guidance meetings with counselors over 25 years. And her notes were color-coded, detailed, beyond anything I've seen before. She has a level of knowledge of students that is unseen, unheard. So Risa is the epitome of what a school social worker should be. She is compassionate, friendly, warm, and relatable with the students. On a daily basis, her office is open to all students who come to talk to her day in and day out to share successes, while others come to her upset about an issue. Either way, she is always there to help students feel happy, calm. She is a wonderful listener, and I will say not just with students, with adults as well, and masterful at helping students work through difficult situations. She goes out of her way to really get to know her students, and she's a staunch advocate for them. Each year, she plans prevention events such as Red Ribbon Week and pro-social events for students throughout the year, such as acoustic cafes. This year for Red Ribbon Week, Risa spearheaded a North Shore Lives Life Well campaign, where teachers and students created Google slideshows showing how they live their life well. It was quite a celebration in our school, and people were talking about it. It was so well received and was a wonderful way for students to see teachers in a different light, especially this year. Additionally, Risa has played an important role in the district-wide wellness committee and the social emotional learning committee. Overall, Risa plays a critical role in supporting the mental health needs of North Shore students and beautifully manages an extremely large caseload on top of coordinating substance prevention programs and managing a district-wide prevention grant. It is impressive to observe the impact she has had in such a short time at North Shore. North Shore is lucky to have such a dedicated and qualified social worker. During the pandemic, as students returned to school, Risa was managing a Herculean caseload. She was there for our students, she was there for our staff, and she was there for our families with poise and steadfast professionalism. Congratulations and thank you. Emily Whalen. Emily. So I'm a bit biased here because I am a social studies teacher. And when I've gone to your classes, Emily, you're able to bring very rigorous sources and text and create a collaboration in your room that is second to none. It's impressive to watch. And this year, she was able to create that collaboration both in the digital space and in the classroom space, and you made it look easy. Emily's these words are from both myself and Seth Gordon, Director of Social Studies. Emily is the kind of teacher that you'd be very excited for your teenage son or daughter to have. She is kind, friendly, attentive, understanding, and supportive. She helps transition students to high school with great patience, a lot of patience. At the same time, she builds relationships with her students while helping them organize themselves and develop into successful students. She brings ancient world history to life through exciting activities and thoughtful connections to the current world today. For instance, to help students understand foot binding, Emily shows students many examples of how women have struggled with what it means to be beautiful according to societal standards. Her students thought about body image, weight, complexion, and many other considerations, and then reconsidered foot binding in light of what women struggle with today. You could see her students develop empathy for the struggles of women and better contextualize what they're studying. It's teaching like this where Emily truly connects with her students and makes such a valuable member of our school community. Emily's also a valuable member of our entire social studies team. She has proven to be flexible, and she has taught Global 1, AP World 2, Psychology, Government and Economics, ICT Global, Global 2, AP World 1, and the list continues to grow. As a social studies teacher, that is very impressive. Emily's respected very much by her colleagues in the administration alike, and she's a team player and embraces challenges with a smile on her face. We appreciate all that Emily has done, and we gladly recommend her tenure. Emily is masterful at teaching complex concepts and making them accessible to all students. She encourages active sharing and collaboration in her class. She is brilliant at creating a shared learning community. Congratulations, Emily. Next, Christina Marjor, World Language. I'm sharing comments for myself, Director of World Language Anna Aguiar, and Director of IB Programs, Dr. Taitone. And Christina is a principled thinker, always reflecting on her practice and growth. She demonstrates the qualities of a lifelong learner, as well as being a teacher for all. Christina's greatest contribution to our school is the way she inspires others to celebrate language learning, different cultural perspectives, and diversity. Students are confident as they take risks in the classroom and challenge themselves in new ways, including achieving the level of proficiency needed for the seal of biliteracy, reading literature, and preparing for higher levels of learning. In her classroom, students learn the attributes of being a global citizen. Bringing in her Hispanic heritage to the classroom, Christina is able to make cultural connections come to life. She models creating one's own identity while opening up the window to diverse perspectives. No matter which level of Spanish she teaches, students leave Christina's classroom inspired, confident, and curious about the world. Christina gets to know each and every one of her students and their interests in order to design lessons that engage learners and reinforce their language skills. Outside of the classroom, Christina is an ambassador for our school district. She has presented at local, state, and national conferences, promoting North Shore as a leader in world language education. Christina is innovative in her teaching and learning, always seeking new methods to engage students and sharing her knowledge with colleagues in the field. To be specific, Christina spearheaded the use of GoFormative in the World Language Department, a new asynchronous tool meeting the needs of language learners in 3 modes of communication. In this way, Christina was able to ensure that growth and proficiency continue to be at the heart of her instruction. It is with great pleasure that we recommend Christina from the World Language Department for tenure. I'd like to say whenever you're walking by her classes, the students always stay and talk. They always stay and engage in the conversation in the target language. And when you have to tell students, go to your next class, that's an impressive thing to say. Congratulations. Andrea Ward. So I'm sharing comments from myself and Joe Kissinger. Ms. Ward came to the North Shore District 4 years ago with both special education and math teaching experience, and we're very lucky for that. Over the course of her tenure, Ms. Ward has demonstrated a commitment to growing as a teacher and learner. In her first year, Ms. Ward proved to be a teacher willing to explore progressive instructional practices when she incorporated a flipped classroom approach in her Algebra 1 ILC class. This willingness to explore new instructional methods has led Andrea down a path where she continually seeks new ways to meet the needs of her students in ways that promote independence and deeper thinking. Currently, Andrea is a leader amongst the high school special education department, utilizing different forms of technology to provide high-quality instruction to students, both in and out of the classroom. Her students will frequently engage in platforms such as Nearpod, Peer Deck, ClassKick, and Google Classroom. Colleagues will often turn to you, Andrea, for support in utilizing these instructional technologies, and Andrea always makes herself available to help. Andrea's always eager for feedback and will seek it from a variety of sources. Andrea will regularly meet with colleagues from both special education and the math department, and I want to stop here and say I've never seen someone so masterfully link those two departments, and I've said that to you many times, and I thank you for that, because math learning for special needs students, we have work to do, and she brings so much to that space. So thank you for that. She will regularly seek feedback from students by utilizing Google Form surveys and individual conferencing with students. She uses the information learned to adjust future instructional practices. Andrea is a wonderful advocate for the students she serves, and she's a valued member of both departments at the high school. I've seen Ms. Ward firsthand make math engaging, relevant, and yes, fun. Math is fun in her class. While being rigorous, challenging, and building preparation, she prepares like no one else, and relationships matter in her class. She knows her students, everything from their pets to what they like about math. It's quite impressive to watch her math class, and she is respected by both the staff and the students for everything she brings to bear as a teacher. Congratulations. Ms. Nersessian. So before I say what I want to say about Mr. Nersessian is a senior class advisor. She's been working all week beyond school hours. Planned graduation, did a spectacular job. I don't know how many hours you've been able to sleep. She was at graduation, right? She was there setting up, she was there breaking down. She's gonna be here tomorrow at 4:30 for a senior breakfast, and she's here today. So, and I speak on behalf of myself and Miss Amy Demiola, Director of Mathematics. Ms. Nersessian is a teacher who is creative, ambitious, and dedicated, always putting her students at the core of her work. She designs learning experiences that bring out students' best thinking and give them opportunities to shine in their own unique ways. Ms. Nersessian carefully incorporates elements of student voice and student choice into her work with students, as well as regular opportunity for student reflection, knowing that these refined practices increase student success in the math classroom. Her enthusiasm and willingness to embrace new ideas and take such thoughtful and creative approaches to her practice has served as a model and an inspiration for all her colleagues. Ms. Nersessian's reach extends far beyond the classroom. Indeed, she has become so deeply involved with our school's culture that we cannot imagine the North Shore without Ms. Nersessian in it. She taps into student interest as the advisor of the Mathletes and the Chess Club, and has been an incredible senior advisor. Her passion and care for North Shore students has shined through as she tirelessly works to organize events and creates a sense of belonging, and has made this year, under all the circumstances, so special for the class of 2021. North Shore is lucky to have a teacher like Ms. Nersessian as such an integral part of our school community. We are pleased to recommend her for tenure, and we look forward to many more years of her work, both in the math classroom and beyond. Congratulations. And Ms. Stacy Hostman. And I'm reading these statements on behalf of myself and Ms. Julie Ritter, Director of English Language Arts. As an AIS provider in English 9 research in our writing labs, Ms. Hostman has been instrumental in designing and executing innovative student-centered approaches. Ms. Hostman strategically uses the research process as the tool with which students can practice and study skills, English language arts skills, and traits from the SVO and the IB Learner Profile. A prominent feature of her course is the use of student-led conferences anchored by an analysis of the intersection of habits of mind and MLA research skills, so important for secondary education and college readiness. Ms. Hostman has been an integral part of building the students' capacity to prepare for the conferences and of collaborating with students and evaluating their progress. In doing so, Ms. Hostman explicitly discusses the committed individual's criteria of agency, independence, goal setting, and attainment, and perseverance. Furthermore, Ms. Hostman's leadership regarding the inclusion of executive functioning and stress management in the English 9 research and writing labs content promotes our students' well-being in that low-stakes and supportive academic environment. Her work there and as a 9th grade advisor make her an invaluable member of our faculty. And I want to stop here and say that the work that you do with those 9th graders is fundamental and foundational and so important, because without that work, all the other complex work in every other discipline is not possible. So thank you for that work in that grade level. Ms. Hostman joined the North Shore High School English Arts Department with a firmly established content knowledge. That dramatic advantage allowed her to embrace her new role as an AIS provider by endeavoring to deepen her understanding of special education and ENL strategies to reach her large caseload for at-risk students. Ms. Hostman has approached this task with a steadfast commitment to pedagogical growth and improvement for all her students. Enthusiastic and confident, Ms. Hostman has remained unafraid to take risk and to adjust her practice as necessary on behalf of her students. She seeks out advice regularly, acts on it comprehensively, and makes it her own using reflection informed by her students' results. She's responsive to her student needs. So I want to say that you are the embodiment of what we call the growth mindset, and she models this all the time in her classroom and outside, and as a result, your students are exactly the same way. They're reflective, they're thoughtful, and they see themselves as continuous learners. Congratulations on your tenure appointment. And that concludes the high school piece. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. This is a wonderful day. But Peter, I wanted to hand it back over to you for the next stage of our agenda, which is the retirement recognition. It's easy up here. I just sit and you guys do all the work.
Okay. Congratulations to all of you. And thank you to our principals and directors for your hard work supervising the tenure process and coaching as this goes along. It is good, important work, and of the most important that we do. We look forward to long relationships with all of you. Also tonight, as I said before, we have, they say 523 years of experience with which we want to honor. So what I'd like to do is, oh, thank you, Benny. Perfect. So when one retires from the North Shore schools, you get a bowl. And the bowl is, apparently there was a run on bowls. So the bowls, it's true. And so the bowls aren't here for us to give you tonight, and we apologize deeply for that, but we cannot give you what we do not have. So the bowls, we are told, will be here around the 24th or 25th. We'll check with Betty, she knows. But they will be here, and as soon as they are here, we will make arrangements to get them to you. They are lovely. They will have your name on them and your years of service. And we hope that you use them with love and pride. Okay, so normally I would give this to you tonight, but no can do. But I do have North Shore pens, like gazillions of North Shore pens, and so we will be giving our retired. Pardon me. Go ahead, Patty. What was? Well, you're going to get another one. So I have. So when I call your name, I'd like you to come up. Principals, if you can join me, that would be terrific as well. And we will give you your pen and give you an IOU on your bowl. And yes, and I have a pen to do it. Let's hope it has ink, right? Okay. So we have 22 retirees that we would like to honor and recognize tonight. And when I call your name, if you are here, please come up and stand with me, and then we will go from there. So Michelle Abel is a middle school teacher, and she is retiring. Can you hear Michelle? Okay. Janet Bates Wilkins was the assistant business manager. So I signed a lot of things for Janet when she was here, always in blue, right? Congratulations. I think those are black, but stay here, stay here, stay here, stay here, stay here. Okay. Barbara Brennan, our teacher, primarily middle school, also high school. Barbara. Diane Capabianco, school nurse. Linda Desmond, teaching assistant. Roxanne DeVico, senior account clerk in our payroll office. Jean Hall, secretary at the high school. Jean is our longest serving employee in the entire district. Richard Hantz, language, middle school. David Keenan, middle school math. Linda Cleon, literacy at Glen Head. Deborah Letty, secretary at the middle school. Giovanna Lamonda, elementary, Glen Head. Janice Nunziata, nurse at the high school. Hi, Janice. How are you? I get a hug too. I love you. Thank you. Vincent Papa, security at Glen Head. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Lorraine Porto, monitor. Joe Renison. Has anybody seen Joe? There he is, Joe Renison. He's a custodian at the high school. Joe will have to clean up after us tonight, so we're going to put the pedal to the metal at some point tonight for him. Janice Romano, Secretary of Food Service. Joni Santasiero, Secretary, High School Nurses Office. Patty Skank, Secretary at the high school. Okay. Susan Soltis, English teacher at the high school. Denise Steele, teaching assistant. And lastly, Janet Wallach, speech teacher at Glen Head. Okay, so this is everybody. We're going to take a photo. Yes? Okay. Principals, come on up for your photos with this piece. If you have a retiree. Oh, now I get one. Now I get one. Okay.
So, thank you, Dr. Girizzo, and thank you. Can we just have another round of applause for our retirees? That was really... So many generations of students who've benefited from your time here. It's special. Thank you. We are using, for those of you following at home and those of you who are here tonight, a new software program, and our fantastic district clerk was polite enough to point out to me that I kind of skipped the most important part of the tenure, which is the actual official awarding of tenure by the board. So I would like to ask for the speeches and the explanations of everyone was so wonderful, we kind of got caught up, but I think we do have to take official action. So I would like to ask for a motion from the board to grant tenure to the aforementioned teachers, teachers assistants, and administrators that we heard from tonight. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you so much. And I do hope everyone will stick around. We are going to break for a little bit in just a few moments to celebrate a little more informally and be able to say our congratulations and our thank yous to our newly awarded tenured folks and our retirees. But before that, we do have a couple more recognitions. So I wanted to ask Trustee Galati to speak a little bit about our outgoing trustees.
Thank you, Dave. To start off with, let me once again congratulate all the tenure recipients tonight on it's a tremendous job, and thank you for your work. And for the retirees, many of you I know very well, congratulations. Thank you so much for all that you've done for the school over all these years. Your work has been amazing, so thank you so much. 4 years ago, when I started my first term as a trustee of the Board of Education, I was somewhat surprised to the small number of community members in attendance at the meetings. Even though I'm legally blind, it became very apparent to me that a few individuals were regular attendees. The two most prominent were Tim Madden and Lisa Vizza. Not only did they attend most meetings, but they repeatedly asked probing, insightful, and relevant questions of the board, or brought to our attention items of importance to the school and the community. Tim did so in his capacity as the editor and writer for the Northward News, and Lisa as the president of the Coordinating Council of Parent, Teacher, and Student Organizations in the district. Their regular attendance and participation were true for several years prior to my noting it. And in fact, if you were to check, I would suspect they both have maroon blood because they are both graduates of this high school. And in fact, Tim was a senior when I first started working here. 3 years ago, we were extremely fortunate to have both Tim and Lisa elected as trustees. Both hit the ground running, and they have been tireless advocates for our students and the community throughout their entire tenure. Each has volunteered hundreds of hours of their own time every year in serving this community. Tim's expertise as a veteran educator and a former board trustee, and Lisa's as an IT professional and a social worker, excuse me, have greatly enhanced this board. They brought varied experiences and background to the board, and their contributions have been significant. In Tim's words, communication and collaboration are the two key components of success as a representative of the North Shore Board of Education. Both Tim and Lisa have definitely exceeded the mark in those two categories. For the past few years, both Tim and Lisa carefully reviewed all of the individual educational plans and 504 plans for every student K-12 in the district who were deserving of such accommodations. In addition, they both served on the Athletic Advisory Committee. Tim served on the Policy Committee and was our vice president for the 2020-2021 school year. Lisa was an active member of the district-wide Safety Committee and the Health and Wellness Committee, and was recognized by the New York State School Boards Association as an outstanding Board of Education trustee. Although we are sad to see them leave, we are confident that they will remain as selfless proponents for this community and for our children. It is with tremendous gratitude, respect, and admiration that we thank Tim and Lisa for their outstanding service and we wish them all the best in the future. Thank you.
And on behalf of the board, it's not a bowl, guys, but we did want to get you a gift from your fellow trustees, and of course, a pen. So next on our agenda is a recognition of our outgoing superintendent, Dr. Girizzo. Dr. Girizzo, of course, sees the agenda clearly, and he was very insistent to me that this be brief. So I will heed his admonition. But I did want to say this meeting, as we all saw tonight, is clearly one of the happiest times for this district, in that we see our newly tenured faculty and staff who are about to start this long journey as permanent members of our community. And we also see those who gave so much on the other end. And today was especially unique in that we had a high school graduation today. So we saw the actual fruition of all the efforts that have gone on, that do go on and go through. And it was a truly great day. Eric, today was just a fantastic day for our kids. I've been to all the graduations, and the smiles today on the kids were bountiful. And of course, the superintendent is the one who's directly at the center of this district and is ultimately responsible for great moments like that happen. When I first came on as a trustee, my first year we were hiring Peter. I then served as a trustee at large. I served as vice president for 2 years, and now Peter and I have been working closely as I'm the president of the board and with the superintendent very well. Peter has hired 4 of our 5 building leaders, many other administrators, including Dr. Zublionis, who's become such a valuable member of our central office. Peter helped get the passage of a bond. Peter has helped, of course, helped and spearhead and led our efforts to keep our buildings open. We were only one of 6 I think Long Island districts to be open K through 8 this year, in person all year. And it has been a very, very difficult year. This is perhaps, without question, the most difficult year in education in generations. And I think it's also safe to say that in general, for our society at large, there has been, to some degree, more of a difficulty in our ability to communicate with each other as neighbors and friends and people who live within a community together. And it has been a very difficult time. And I've worked with you very closely, Peter, and I've seen the effort you put in. I've seen the care you've put in. I've seen your continuing integrity, your concern for people, your concern for children, your concern for education, your concern for health. And I am really looking forward to continuing our friendship beyond your time here. I know you're going to do very well in your next position. You've always done well in your positions. You've done very well here. You have left a mark on North Shore that is indelible and permanent. Tomorrow, we're going to have a groundbreaking at the middle school construction, which will be the manifestation of the work that we've done as a bond. I mean, you help spearhead with community input and community approval. And I could go on, but you told me not to. So with that, I'm going to stop and say congratulations and thank you for everything, and present you with these gifts from the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I'm up?
You're up.
I will now introduce our Vice President, Tim Madden, who was well introduced by Rich earlier. Thank you again. But please take it away.
Okay. Yes, thank you. And Rich, thank you very much for the kind words. I do appreciate it. I have the honor of recognizing our 2 SGO representatives, Ariadna Pavlidis Sanchez and Michael Gimondo. I don't know if the 2 of you are aware of it, but I'm a social studies teacher, and I've been teaching social studies for more than 30 years. And I guess I would say it's the most important thing we do in the social studies is to try to help students
develop the values and behaviors that lead to a lifetime of civic engagement and civic responsibility. And by that, I mean being thoughtful and informed and constructive participants in the public life of a community. And I think, here the two of you are 17 or 18 years old, and you really very much embody those and model those characteristics. I think you've been excellent representatives of your classmates. I mean, normally you're telling us about what's happening in the high school. The most important part of representation, I think, is advocacy, and I think you've been wonderful advocates for the student body at the high school. I know maybe it was back in, thinking January, perhaps, we were discussing whether or not we were going to continue with the asynchronous teaching model, and I think it was, I think the two of you very effectively represented the students and gave your positions on that issue and defended that model. Up until January, I think students had to stay at the high school for lunch. They couldn't leave. And you also advocated successfully for a change in that policy. And you did it in a very respectful and civil and thoughtful way. And, when I look at the state of our civic discourse and the larger society in our country today, that really gives me hope when I see young people behaving in that particular way. So thank you very much for your service. And I hope you continue to be civically engaged and responsible going forward, as you have been this past year. So thank you very much. And I do have a gift from the board and central administration. I'll come over to you. And also pens.
Okay, so thank you, Trustee Madden. Of course, thank you to our two SGO reps. It was great seeing you all day today. I even saw you afterwards on the field. With that, it is currently a little after 9:10. Should we say we will now take a break to celebrate each other in person? For the board and anyone who wants to return to the meeting, should we say 9:35? Is that good? 9:35, we will reconvene, but please to the high school courtyard, and we can all say our congratulations. Thank you.
Even though, not like the Catholics, not like the Catholics.
So I'm going to call the meet, there we go. Okay, good, I see you. Don't run, don't run, don't run. Don't drop the cupcake. Okay, we took a break for those of you who are watching virtually to celebrate our tenure awardee candidates. They're no longer candidates. They are now officially tenured members of our staff. So we're excited about that. We do have some folks who've returned. I would mention for the folks who are here that it is state law to be wearing masks inside our school buildings, which I appreciate. Those of you who are here, and I appreciate that. And we will move on with our regular business, which starts with the approval of the minutes from May 27th, 2021. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Betty, you're looking at me. Did I miss one again? Okay, good. If I do, because this new format's a little tricky, don't be afraid to use the mic. All right, very well, thank you. And we will then move on to action item 10, approval of the treasurer's report for April 2021. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Trustee Russo?
So in looking at the treasurer's report, one of the things it goes through is the reserve balances. And one of the reserves we keep is the repair reserve for any unforeseen expenses. We do a buildings condition survey every 5 years, which is updated on an annualized basis. And we have used the repair reserve for the schoolhouse, and I believe for asbestos abatement in the windows outside the theater. And those are like the two instances I can think of in the sort of 8 years I've been here. And I'm wondering, because there is 1.5 million in there, and we haven't really used that kind of money. We used about 300,000. It was 2 something on the schoolhouse. I forget the amount for the other repair that we did. Is there a way to access that money without a catastrophic event happening for some of the repairs that we have outstanding that are on our list of to-do items?
Repair reserves are only meant to do projects that are deemed repairs only. You cannot use it for major construction. And so if we know that we knew about the project during the budget process, my understanding is that, and council is here, my understanding is that we cannot use it. It's only if something happened through the school year and we're not aware of it at the time that we're building the budget that we can use repair reserve for. Am I right, James?
That's right. For emergencies. Sorry. If you have any questions, Olivia's correct. For emergencies, it's not for major construction projects, it's not for improvements.
So just to clarify, because our attorney is out there, it's for emergency projects, not for improvements or previously identified repair work. Thank you, James.
So is there a way to transfer some of that money out, or other than for utilization for those repairs?
I think we have to do the research on that because there are some restriction on how we can move monies from reserves, one reserve to the other. So this is something that I have to research through council to find out whether there's a legal way and or through the auditors to find out whether we can transfer some monies, the remaining balances in a repair reserve into another reserve. But let me just also say one thing, that when you go to my reserve report that I put out, I think every October, you would see there are more projects that we did with the repair reserve. It's not just the schoolhouse. There are a number of projects that went through the repair reserve.
I know we utilize at least twice in the 8 years I'm here.
Yes.
The it's just at 1.5 million, I was trying to think what could happen that we wouldn't have in the buildings condition survey. Especially since we update that annually, that would be $1.5 million worth of repairs that would be unforeseen. Because now my understanding is like if the roof caved in, we wouldn't be able to use it, but that should be on our building condition survey. So I was just trying to figure out a way. We did get a letter from someone asking us to repair something, a community member. We do have a list of items that we were not able, that we're not always able to do because of budgetary constraints. Would there be a way to reduce that reserve and access some of that money in a legal manner? The answer may be no, because it is my understanding from all the years that it has to be an unforeseen circumstance.
Correct.
But if there was a way to tap into that we haven't really thought about, it might be helpful when we have upcoming budgetary constraints.
I think you're, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're asking two questions: whether we can tap into it, and at what point can we use it for emergency projects. Is that correct?
Yes.
With tapping into it, we have to do more research on it. The second piece, which is, using it for emergency project, I think that's what council was responding to. We can, if we know that there's a project, but during the budget process, we have to budget for it. We can't just use the repair reserve for it.
I just thought maybe we could look into it again and see if there's some latitude where we can utilize some of that money.
Okay.
Just a question.
Okay.
It occurred to me when I got the letter, email and in tandem with the treasurer's report.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments on the treasurer's report for April of '21? Okay, all those in favor of approving the treasurer's report, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We now move on to the report from our superintendent, Dr. Chirizo.
Thank you. So this is going to be short. We've already congratulated our retirees and our tenure candidates. I wanted to offer my own best wishes to trustees Madden and Visa. I've enjoyed and appreciated working with you, and I wish you well. I wanted to thank Ariadna and Michael, who are not here, and congratulations to both of them on their graduations. And I wanted to thank my two partners, Chris Zublionis and Olivia Boazzi. I would say working with you both has been one of the highlights of my almost 30-year career. I have appreciated your hard work and your good humor. I love that we can find a way to really have a good belly laugh together every day, right? Sometimes at one of our expenses and sometimes just because it's funny. So I appreciate it. And Chris, I will tell you honestly and truly, you are one of the best hires I've ever made. And so I thank you very much. And I wish you both well. Okay, but this is not goodbye. This is hasta luego. And I want to thank the board for providing me with the opportunity to be your superintendent. And as I conclude my time here, we've done good work together, and I appreciate all of it. Today, I gave my my remarks to the graduating class, and I pick a song every year. It's been my tradition for 8 years that I've been doing this. And this year, I selected "Just Breathe" by Pearl Jam. And why I selected that was the message in that song is about stopping, being together, finding time to just breathe and enjoy each other's presence. And I think that as a community, as a people, as a society, we can benefit from quite all of that. And I encourage you to do that. This morning, it was the coolest thing like ever. around 9:15, the Seacliff School Band showed up at the central office, and they did this little pop-up concert for me. And it was amazing. And one of the songs they played was Shine, and they thanked me for shining. And I will say to you what I said to them is, I shine when we all shine. So this has been a really tough year, and I encourage everybody, right? There's a lot of not listening to one another in a lot of places, and we can do better than that. So please notice the shine. It's everywhere you look in North Shore, and find it and call it out. It's good stuff. Okay, so on that note, this will be my concluding remarks and your superintendent's report. And I wish you and North Shore and our students every success. Once you're a Viking, you're always a Viking. And so I'll be rooting for you from Westchester. Okay, so thank you very much for this opportunity. I really appreciated it.
Okay, thank you. We turn to comments from the public. If folks are here to speak to us, there's a podium at the center. Just come on up and speak at the podium. Just say your name and town of residence, and then proceed.
Am I allowed to just do this while
You're not, no, I'm sorry, but you can pull it real close and you can be,
All right.
you can be heard. Thank
I'm a
you.
rule follower.
Thank you.
All right, I'm Christina McNeely from Glen Cove. Good evening. My name is Christina McNeely. Just a little bit about myself. I began my career working for the federal government and eventually became an elementary educator. I've worked with children with disabilities and taught 4th and 6th grade in 2 neighboring districts. I am also the parent of a 1st grader at Glenwood Landing Elementary School and a 4-year-old in a local preschool. I'm also a lifelong New York Islanders hockey fan, so missing the playoff game tonight to be here hopefully speaks to how important this is to me. I share the same sentiment with many others that our district has done an amazing job getting us back into school full-time during this unprecedented year. I have great respect for our teachers, staff, and principal as they've gone above and beyond to make this year as normal as possible for our kids. We have the best teachers around. Thank you to the board and our superintendent for preparing tirelessly for our reopening. As a big supporter of our district, I'm sad to say that I'm disappointed with what has transpired over the last month regarding the lack of communication, support, and advocacy for parent choice. In mid-May, as COVID vaccination rates started to increase and COVID positivity rates began to drop, I became concerned about the lasting physical, emotional, and mental effects of continuing to mask our children. I wasn't alone. Many of our community members from all different backgrounds with different points of view agreed. This was not an anti-masking argument. This was about parent choice. Many other districts on Long Island and local government officials began to advocate to lift the mask mandate for children in schools, yet our own board chose not to. We are well aware that you are required by the state to uphold laws and directives as they relate to our schools, but your silence and lack of advocacy at that point in time make it clear that you support masking young children regardless of science. Finally, on June 7th, with mounting pressure, Governor Cuomo announced that students can choose to remove their masks outdoors. Let it be known that our BOE and current superintendent did not play any role in advocating for this major change in improving the lives of our children in school. Let's not forget on June 4th, the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Health, Dr. Howard Zucker, wrote a letter to the CDC director asking for data or science that contradicts with moving forward with making masks optional in schools. No data or science was supplied, and to my knowledge, he never even received a response from the CDC. I can sympathize with him. After sending multiple emails to our board asking them to advocate for parent choice, I finally received a generic response 29 days later, 29 days. In this generic response, it was quoted, "The board respects your right to that position, but many members of our community feel equally strongly about the issue from other perspectives and have reached out to us as well," end quote. If members of our community have varying strong opinions about the mask mandate, why not then advocate to make masks optional? Give everyone a choice. In one email, I even asked to sit down with any board members interested to have an open, respectful, and productive conversation. Again, no response. I really believe that this district was open to and tolerant of varying viewpoints and perspectives. How can a board not engage their community members in open dialogue about such an important issue to us? Countless parents in our district have shared their stories of their kids' struggles with wearing a mask. Some of our own elementary students sit in unair-conditioned rooms with masks on, expected to focus and learn. Children are feeling claustrophobic, hot, and exhausted. My daughter just wants to be able to learn, read aloud, and express herself unrestricted. Many students experience contact dermatitis, dizziness, nausea, anxiety, and headaches. My 4-year-old son attended his local preschool all year without a mask requirement, and there was no spread. Our kids are eating indoors in restaurants without a mask for hours at a time, yet they still have to sit masked in school. Does this make any sense to you? The risk of getting COVID is not zero, as anyone would understand. But then again, the risk of excessive caution is not zero either. We don't hide under our beds and cover our kids' faces during flu season. Do you understand the mental toll that this takes on our young kids? Do you care about any of this? At this point in time, our kids are beginning to feel normal again. They're having play dates, going to birthday parties, playing on sports teams, going to large-scale sporting events, eating in restaurants, and many will be attending summer camp where masks are not required indoors. With many children in our own backyard struggling with depression and anxiety because of the COVID pandemic, it is our obligation to continue to advocate for their return to normalcy and protect their mental health. I urge you to join many other school districts and elected officials and advocate for making masks optional going forward for our children. As a parent and an educator, I'd like to close with this from Dr. Seuss's book, The Lorax. Unless someone like you cares a whole lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Please show our kids you care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gabrielle Menuza. I'm also a Glenwood Landing parent of a first grader, and I'm an attorney. I'm also here to sort of echo my friend's sentiments regarding mask choice. I want to preface my remarks by saying that I truly consider myself to be a huge supporter of this district also. I was and remain very grateful that we have had such a successful school year and that we are able to remain open full-time. I am very appreciative to the district administration for making that happen. Because of this, I am saddened to express my deep disappointment with how this board has handled the issue of mask requirements in our schools of late. First, the lack of transparency and responsiveness by this board on the masking issue has been extremely disconcerting. It has been nearly impossible to ascertain where the board and its individual members stand on this issue, and to know whether the board would be willing to advocate to New York State on behalf of mask choice. I have sent multiple emails to the board over the course of the past month and have received no response, which is true for many others that I have spoken to. Only 2 days ago, after numerous repeated contacts by multiple people, did the board issue an incredibly non-committal boilerplate email to a certain few. After reading this email, forwarded to me by another parent, one thing became very clear to me. This board has no intention of taking an appropriate position on optional masking based on science, which is supported by numerous medical experts. Instead, this board has taken an informal opinion survey of non-medical professionals in the community to arrive at their position on this issue. We are asking you to reconsider. I will reiterate this recent scientific data that clearly supports lifting mask mandates in schools. Any informed person is well aware of the almost non-existent case rates in our community, the over 75% vaccination rate on Long Island, which is well above the herd immunity standard that was set by the federal government. And most importantly, the fact that children are many, many times less likely to get and spread COVID and more likely to get it in their home than at school. And this has been proven in real time over and over again. And let me not neglect to mention the truly nonsensical lifting of all COVID mandates across New York State this week, including social distancing mandates, health checks, and mask mandates for everyone except essentially school children and people in medical settings. Despite the irrefutable data, the board cites to the fact in this recent email that many members of our community feel equally as strong as those of us advocating for mask choice as a basis for choosing this path of inaction. Since when do we use an opinion survey of non-medical professionals to determine how we proceed according to science? This isn't a question about feelings or opinion. This is a question of science and facts. The science and facts tell us that we are at a point where we can safely say that parents should have a choice about whether they want their children to wear a mask, period. Why should some random community member who has no medical expertise whatsoever be permitted to tell me how to manage my child's health and safety? The whole point is that parents should have the choice about whether or not to mask their children, and they can if they choose to do so. No one is taking away that right from them. But we are no longer in a state of emergency, so there is no basis to impose what I consider to be arbitrary, restrictive regulations on our children. It is our right as parents to choose for our children. Further, I understand from this week's email that this board may not be universally in favor of this position, and if that is the case, I urge you to be transparent about that as well. You are elected officials, and the voters are entitled to know where each of you stand on this very important issue. And I respectfully ask at the close of my remarks that Dr. Giarrizzo poll the board for each individual trustee's position on this issue. Now is the time when policy for next year is being made. We cannot sit back and wait for a mandate to come down from Albany and then act. We must act now. We must lead, not follow. I am here to implore this board, like numerous other school districts on Long Island, Smithtown, Hauppauge, Massapequa, Locust Valley, Sachem, to name a few, to take a firm position by submitting a letter to Governor Cuomo expressing your support for optional masking for the next school year. It is the right thing to do. Thank you.
So we'll definitely give everyone a chance to speak, but I thought it was important just to address a couple of the issues that were raised in those two comments. And I appreciate you bringing it to us in that way and being very clear in the logic that you're presenting to us and respectful, of course, in the way you presented those points. The board is made up of 7 individual trustees, but each individual trustee by law has no individual authority. As the board president, I have no individual authority. We can only act as a body. Now, obviously, we all have different thoughts and opinions about things. We're all individuals, and that diversity within the board is what makes it, theoretically, and I think in practice, a better board, that we all do come to these things with different perspectives on many things, from masking, of course, which is the topic at hand, to curriculum, to sports, athletics, and a host of other issues. But we cannot, as individuals, represent the board or the position. That's just not legally permitted. We can't do that. The board speaks through me. The email that I wrote, I'm sorry. The board, in making that statement that we sent out to you, which with all due respect, I understand that it's boilerplate and that it's a single statement of the position of the board. That is not arrived at simply or easily. We are subject to open meeting laws. We can't all huddle together and discuss our policy. So we have to craft a policy. We have to confirm that it works for folks. We have to be able to express that to the community. It's not as simple as responding to an email with detailed response as a board position, because we don't conduct our business through email. We conduct our business here bi-weekly, roughly, and in responding to the various action items and other issues that come up here. That position that was expressed in that email, which I understood and I acknowledged in the email, was going to be disappointing in that it wasn't a direct statement that the board was prepared to advocate at this time immediately for the removal of masks. But it is also not something that is being driven by any other individual in the community either. I think the point that two of you made, which is that somehow there are some folks in the community who don't agree with immediate masking, and therefore we're listening to them and not to you. I think the important thing is that we are listening to the State Department of Health, which is driving this regulation and these rules. I'm sorry. So in listening to the State Department of Health, that is not someone who's unaware of science. That is not someone who is making a willy-nilly opinion or speaking off the top of their head. Those are the folks who drive the educational process. The process that you described with the June 4th email and the June 7th email and the lack of response from the CDC is confusing and unfortunate by any measure. There's no question that we would love more clarity from our government officials. That has been the case since the beginning of this pandemic, when they did not give us clear direction on what we should be doing with reopening of our schools. They didn't give us clear direction on how we should be keeping our kids separated. Should we be using barriers? Should we be using masks, 3 feet, 6 feet, indoors, outdoors, HEPA filters, windows open, windows closed, temperatures? And they've been leaving it up to boards and really administrations to make those decisions. This administration, although the board did not respond to you, the board oversees the administration, which did give very clear direction of where the district was going. We certainly understand and respect the fact that the direction that the administration put forth was not something that was received well by at least the two speakers. I'm not exactly sure who everyone else is here, but I'm guessing that if you're here to speak on behalf of the immediate removal of masks, that you're in similar point of view, that the administration's response. I understand, and we're here. I'm not sure if everyone's here for masking, but we just don't. Everyone is going to have a right to speak, and we want to hear what you have to say, but we don't. This isn't a town forum. This isn't yelling and back and forth and all that. But you know, the podium's here. We can have everyone here and speak. But I just wanted to make those points clear. So yeah, please come and share your thoughts.
Thank you. I'll wait for you to finish. I just want to ask you just to clarify, but you can, I don't know if you want to continue with.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I mean, I think my basic question is, we understand about, whatever Governor Cuomo said and what the regulation and the guideline currently is. Like, I'm 100%, I understand the board has to comply.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my point, and I'm not, I can't speak on behalf of everybody, but my point is we're asking, first of all, for confirmation of what then the board as a whole's position is, and whether you'd be willing to advocate. And if you're not willing to advocate, why or at what point would you be willing to advocate? Because we're not asking you to disobey any sort of like mandate.
Yes, and I understand that, and I appreciate that, and
that's like, what I'm really trying to ask.
So I definitely don't want to cut you off. I want to give you a chance
No,
to
it's
say
fine.
everything.
That's what I wanted to ask.
So I would say the position of the board, as well, I'll just say it right now, is that for the duration of this school year, which is only a week and a half left, we are not prepared to advocate directly for the immediate removal of masks for this school year. Hold on. That is the position of the board. We are looking to get through the rest of the school year. We are of the belief the State Department of Education has given us that direction. And in terms of why, I laid out some of those issues as represented by the board. But again,
You should be embarrassed to even say that. That's so shameful.
I would just say this, and I will say this with all due respect. People come up to this podium and point fingers and tell us that we should be ashamed and tell us that we don't care about children and that we're abusing children from a variety of perspectives on a variety of topics. That is absolutely something we understand comes with the territory and is totally your right to say that to us. However, I will tell you that for myself, I don't feel shame or that I'm a child abuser because I disagree with your position that needs to happen right away. I will tell you further that this position of the board to not advocate for the immediate removal of masks does not mean that come October, necessarily, we will be sitting here doing nothing. It doesn't mean that come September, we will be sitting here doing nothing. It doesn't mean necessarily that August, we will be sitting here and doing nothing. It means that June 17th, through June 26th, or the last day of school, we are comfortable following the procedures that are in place. If, in your opinion, that makes us irresponsible, shameful child abusers, that is a position on which we'll have to agree to disagree. But I at least am giving you the respect of being clear about our position.
So if I could just comment on the being clear of your position, because I really do feel that that is so far from the truth. Every single email that I have, and I have corresponded with Dr. Giarrizzo, whether you've replied back to me or not is irrelevant at this point, but every single email throughout the course of the year, there has been verbiage in every email that we are following State Department of Health guidance. We are following State Department of Health guidance. I even snapshotted those emails and forwarded over to Ms. Finder and to Dr. G. So as far as I see, and the response from Dr. Giarrizzo was that that was an inquisition to the CDC. However, I have the letter here that was issued by Dr. Zucker on June 4th, and the actual last sentence says, we plan to make this guidance effective Monday, June 7th, if we do not see any statistical analysis from the CDC that contradict what we're putting forth in this letter. So what I am saying to you here is that I feel that North Shore School District is a blue ribbon school district. We should be forging ahead, breaking records, being the leader among all the school districts on Long Island. And I really do feel that the organization that we have here does not set the bar. It does not, we are not in a position where we should be, forging ahead and being the leader of education. It seems to me that our school district has flip-flopped. The entire time we're sitting there saying that we're waiting for Department of Health guidance, we're waiting for Department of Health guidance. We got Department of Health guidance. You even said today that you want to wait for Department of Health guidance. So guess what? Department of Health said that there is no necessity to have indoor masking. However, now we're all of a sudden going to be looking at the Board of Education or the Department of Education for guidance on something that does not involve them because they're not, last I saw, they're not people of a medical profession or a background. So you want to say that you're trying to do the best that you can, or your message has remained the same. And I believe that you're contradicting yourself. And this is why I'm more frustrated more than anything else. Up until this point, I've been wanting to follow the science and wanting to follow what the medical professionals leading our country have to say. And the moment that they release a statement that contradicts or gives us an option to kind of do something different, we kind of at that point just get weak at the knees and decide to shift blame. And that's what I don't appreciate, to be perfectly honest.
That's fair. I appreciate you telling me that. In terms of I guess my take on that is that and it's not only my take, but it's also just how I see this board has responded to that. Yes, the New York State Department of Health wrote that and left that, for lack of a better term, kind of cliffhangery last sentence in that email to the CDC. In the absence of direction from the CDC, the State Education Department finally came in and gave us clarity. And we do answer to the State Department of Education by law. Our administration swears an oath and has licenses that are contingent upon following the State Education Department. So I understand that that was certainly the way that was worded. Let me say this. I am not in a position here on the board to be talking about the larger politics of Governor. I understand what you're saying, but I would also say that in terms of the genesis of that email to the CDC on June 4th and the subsequent non-response of the CDC and then the State Education Department, I will be very clear that that is well beyond my ability to comment on why the people in Albany do what they do. But I will tell you that we were in constant discussion with other neighboring school districts, and our administration talked to all the local schools that we know. I'm not going to name them, but we all know who's around us, and our attorneys, and it was abundantly clear from everyone that the state education ruling superseded that of the Department of Health. And that's why all the local school districts are following. Even the one or two who chose to go in a different direction were quickly forced to go back around again. Now, I also want to say very clearly, that does not speak to the idea that we should be advocating for change as you're talking about, but at least that explains why we're following it, and whether you agree with our decision or don't agree with our decision, I hope that's at least a better explanation of why we've taken that route. That yes, we follow the direction of the Department of Health in lieu of clear direction from the state education department. But when state ed tells us what we have to do in such clear language as they did, we are obligated to follow it. And that's why we did that, even though it was convoluted in the way that it all came down.
Excuse me, could we have your name and town of residence for the record?
I'm
please,
sorry. Thank you, Mary.
ma'am?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
So I don't mean to point.
No, that's okay. Rena Gerasi, Glenhead.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kristen Alanya from Glenhead. I'm sure you all recognize me. I was at the last meeting, and I think I counted 17 unanswered emails before I finally got this email back, and I was so excited, and then I realized everybody got the same email. And at the end of your email, you said there are 2 weeks left in the school year, and the board does not see the need to advocate for change. So when are you going to advocate for change? Why do you have to wait? We're not asking for immediate change, right? We already know they're not going to change it before the end of this school year. But when are you going to advocate? Are you going to wait till September when the Board of Ed tells you that they have to wear masks again? Or are you going to start now? Because this should be a parent choice. And I think it's really disturbing that you guys have not advocated, and I think it's really disturbing that I haven't gotten answers to my emails. It's not fair. This is not what a district is supposed to do. You're supposed to answer parent concerns, okay? You see this map? All the green on the map? Those are all the states that don't make kids wear masks in school, okay? They're all doing fine. Actually, they're benefiting. They're better off than our kids right now because they're not being restricted of oxygen. They're not being forced to wear masks. They're not being anti-socialized. There's only a few blue ones on here, and we're one of them. And it's sad because my 8-year-old said to me, "So you mean if we move to Florida, Mommy, they're not going to force me to wear a mask anymore?" No, they're not. I never thought we would move from New York. I grew up here. We plan to stay here forever. But, you know, things are changing, and our board's not advocating for us. No one's advocating for us. We're being run by a dictatorship right now, basically. That's what it is, okay? So when they force mandate the vaccine, are you guys going to be in favor of that, or are you going to fight for our kids? Because that's what's coming. They're going to use it as bait, just like they're doing for adults. Are you going to support the segregation of children when they say masked children? Unvaccinated children have to wear a mask, but vaccinated kids don't? Are you going to support that, or are you going to fight for our kids? Honestly, because this is where we're going. The mask is the small picture of the big picture of what's happening here. Adults are being segregated right now. High schools in Long Island are segregating kids at prom, making them wear vaccinated bracelets and making the unvaccinated kids sit at a different table. Do you all think that's okay? It's not okay. It's segregation. Okay? It's just the same thing. And if anyone disagrees with that, I don't even know what to say. The science is clear that masks do not work to prevent the spread of COVID. We have a near zero positivity rate, and our kids have a 99.9% chance of being just fine if they had COVID. So when are you going to start fighting for them? Because the time is now. There are kids going to summer school that have to deal with this. Okay, September comes quickly. It's 2 months. The summer is 2 months. And during those 2 months, I want to see the board advocate for our kids. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of people pulling their kids out in September, and you guys might not get the funding that you need. Okay? So stop waiting. Just stop saying you're going to wait. Start now. Do something. Because we've all been working our butts off to try to make change. I work full-time, I own a business, and I have 4 children, and I make phone calls and write emails any moment that I can to try to do something. But we need our district to be with us. It should be a parent's choice. Just like any medical procedure or intervention should be a parent's choice. Thank you.
Are there other members of the community who would like to speak?
I'll be short. Mr. Lemar, you were just saying
the immediate removal of masks. I just want to be clear, it's not the immediate removal, it's mask choice.
Fair,
Okay?
I apologize.
I just want to make that clear. And also, just one more question. If the governor ends up saying that local school districts can decide whether they want to mandate masks in school or make them optional, what is the board's position on that? Will you go ahead and make masks optional?
So I understand you want an answer to that. It's a little hypothetical right now, so I can't give that. I also haven't spoken to the additional board members, so we don't know where everyone stands. And as I said earlier, I'm just one person. I don't know the answer to that right now, so I can't off the cuff say where that is. And it would depend what else came along with that. Social distancing, indoors, what the condition of the county at the time was, what the infection rate, what vaccination numbers were at the time, what was happening outside of the schools. There's a lot of variables for that.
Yeah, because Dr. Giarrizzo's email, after that email went out, that letter went out from Dr. Zucker, he did say that going forward, if this is confirmed, we will be mask optional, and that was exciting to hear. So I hope going forward, we take that position.
Appreciate it. Are there other folks who want to speak before we? Again, obviously, I'm not sure everyone's here, but if someone did want to speak on masks or on something other than masks, we are here. Okay, I appreciate you showing up. I appreciate you being frank with us, and the board appreciates it too. But we are going to go back to our regular business at this point. And we will move on to action item 14, which is personnel. Is there a motion on the various activities listed under the personnel section?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments on personnel? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Action 15, which is the approval of a memorandum of agreement between North Shore and the North Shore Federated Employees. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? I would just say that I am looking forward to the vote on this, which I have a feeling is going to go positively. These agreements are always something that takes some effort to put together, but I do think that the partnership between the administration, the district, and our teachers here at North Shore is incredibly strong. And I don't know if this is necessarily the right moment to say this, but what the teachers did for the students to learn new paradigms, to get through their own personal fears and concerns during this pandemic was extremely thoughtful and caring and productive. And so I am really proud of our teachers that they did that, and I look forward to calling this to vote and moving forward with the great relationship that the North Shore administration and board and teachers have had historically and going forward. So if there are no more questions or comments, all in favor of action 15, which is a new MOA between North Shore, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Action 16, which is the approval of a resolution pursuant to Education Law Section 913. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this one? All right. All in favor? Aye.
Excuse me? I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Have I lost my shot? I really was under the impression that tonight was all about masks. And when you ultimately said that it was, if we had any other questions, you were open to that.
There is a section of the agenda for public comment. So public comment has closed, unfortunately. We will have our next meeting on July 12th. But you can certainly reach out to us. I understand that the reaching out has been met with.
I'm not going to reach out.
Okay.
Yeah, there was just my question was regarding the critical race theory.
So
Can I just first?
no, you can't. Well, we would need a motion from someone to reopen public comment.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Motion to open public comment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
All
So
in
there's a
favor?
motion on the table to reopen public comment. Is there any questions or comments or discussion of that? Okay. All those in favor of reopening public comment, say aye.
Aye.
Well, there you go. Come on up. Name and town of residence.
Glenn Head,
I'm sorry, I need your name also.
Denise Miller.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm a local resident. My son is in Glenwood Landing. We just moved here 5 years ago. We are in love with Glenwood Landing. Miss Finder, the whole entire school has been wonderful to us. As you can imagine, and you and everyone has been through a lot in the last year and a half, okay? It's been a lot to take in, I have to say at the least, okay? So thank you for everything that you've done. But as we slowly move forward, there have been so many different challenges. And it's gearing a lot in our minds as moms, of course, to all different, struggles. And I don't know if they are actually going to go forward in this being implemented into our school district or into our schools, but there are multiple issues that are on the table right now that we are all talking about as moms. One of the, of the couple that are on the table is the critical race theory. And this one is something that, is just a little bit unclear for us because we understand that we haven't been told much about it. And also when we reached out to Finder, which is a wonderful individual that we all really do love because she really does fight for us. She really does. So what my question really is that although I've reached out to Finder and the answer was that they're not really quite sure what that curriculum will look like, there will be something similar to it on some level. And at this point, I'd like to know if there's any ideas of what that would look like for us.
So critical race theory, to be totally honest again, I am not entirely sure what a curriculum based in critical race theory would be, but I can tell you that in terms of any curriculum specifically for critical race theory, that has not been proposed by the administration, that has not been put forth before the board. I am aware that there is conversation in our community about it, and I'm aware that there is conversation in the larger world about it.
Right.
I do think that there are certainly history. I'm not a historian. I'm not a teacher, but I will tell you that the teaching of history is something that evolves, and there certainly are things in history that are taught now that weren't taught at other times.
Right.
And we leave that to our administration tonight. I don't know if you were here, but we appointed tenure to many of our less tenured teachers, because we rely on our teachers to be the ones who help make those decisions as guided by the administration. And so I think that as more voices come into the world and more perspectives come into the world, history will evolve over time in the way that we teach it. But in terms of specific critical race theory, that is not something that has come before this board and is not something that is currently on the table for discussion, as far as I'm aware, and I would be aware, in this district. Peter, do you want to talk about that at all?
I think you hit the nail right on the head. We haven't discussed it as a concept, and there are no plans to adopt a CRT curriculum.
There isn't.
There is not.
It's called a 1619, right?
That is a curriculum. We haven't talked about the 1619 project at all.
Is there a difference?
Yes, there
What
is.
is the difference, please?
I mean, I can talk with you about that. Critical race theory is a large body of research.
So
and
the
work that exists.
1619, in other words, is a portion of it. It's just,
It's a curriculum. It's not, I'm not going to put it in any kind of bucket, but it is a
part of the CRT.
I'm not putting it in that bucket. It is a curriculum that you can implement in the schools. We have not discussed that.
So can you at least answer what that particular 1619 actually looks like?
I don't know
at
enough
all?
about it because we haven't done any research on it. We have no
You
plans
haven't?
No, we have no plans to implement it.
Oh, you don't have any plans
No,
to do it?
that's what I said.
Okay, so I have a close friend that has her children in the Great Neck School District.
Okay.
And it's already currently being taught inside their school district, right? For their children.
I don't
And I know it's not us, so I understand that.
Okay.
But at the same time, the worry and the concern, as I think you can all understand, is we understand that we evolve. And we understand, I'm 44, so going back, I understand, that we learned, like we still learn today, Martin Luther King or whoever was really, just someone who really was made an impact in some way in our lives, right? And helped us to move forward, understand the struggles of certain people, of anything, just to teach us something and to move us forward. And that's what it is. It's about learning about everybody, and how different we all are from one another. And through the struggles, we move forward. Okay? And it's through education that we do that. But this in particular thing, the particular CRT, the only reason why we're all so concerned is that we see it, that it's not only happening so quickly, it also doesn't actually make us feel comfortable to be, I don't think, I might be, from Greek heritage, okay, 4th generation American, but from Greek heritage, okay? But I just can't understand how we could just take one particular race and just focus on, that particular race. I'm just going to say like maybe Caucasian or so. Okay, just one moment, Jerusalem, please. And I really feel like I just don't understand it, and you guys, maybe you're not able to give me a full understanding of it, but I do think that we're concerned about what that will do to our children. Okay, we do understand that we evolve as people. We do understand that. But this particular subject at hand is not about that. Okay? Just like we wanted to implement into the school district when I was in high school during health education, we implemented sex education for a reason, right? Because the population for teenagers as we know it, I don't know if it's still the same, but statistically, HIV and AIDS was more dominant in the category of between like 12 and 16, right? So we understood that the curriculum had to be placed at that particular time during that age group at that particular time, right? Mm-hmm. So we understand that everything has its time and its place, and only to educate and to help them in their evolving process and learning and being educated in the process where it would actually benefit them. So my question here really is, where would this help them? Whether you're Asian, whether you're Latino.
Where would what help? I'm sorry.
The CRT, where would it actually help us? See, I know you're not going to be able to answer it. I just want to voice it, please.
Of course.
This is something that is bigger than us, is what we feel. And it just doesn't quite feel like it fits in with something where if it became part of the curriculum, what is it really doing? That's the question here, is what is it really doing? With the kids learning sex ed when they're in high school, we understand that it's to prevent and to educate. Okay, so they make better choices and healthier choices for themselves because they're more at risk during that time frame. But when we're talking about repression or suppression of a certain, because of the color of your skin, I'm just going to say it like that, excuse me. But it just doesn't really quite, sit well with a lot of us that are of all colors, because we're trying to understand if we want to bring our community together or keep it connected, because in the last year and a half, I think we can all say, even during the Trump administration, the country and the world even, but the country has become so divided. And so if we want to have a chance at getting united again, this in particular, if anything, will just continue to divide us because it doesn't seem to have real justification. You can't put it on one race. You can't put it on anybody, on just one. If anything, just like we took sex education and applied it to the children to teach them that for a purpose and a reason, well, then maybe there needs to be a way to do it in a different way. You're educators. I'm a psychologist, but you guys are educators. So it makes sense to me that it would be in our best interest, in everyone's best interest, as a district, teachers, parents, families, children, that we need to sit down and think about how we can do it in an educational way and not in a way where one particular race or one particular group is being now the one to feel perhaps like something is wrong with us.
So let me just say a couple things. First of all, for the record, I'm not an educator. And some of us are, but I'm not. We are community representatives who oversee the administration, which oversees our educators from varied backgrounds, which is theoretically, and again, I think in practice, a helpful way to oversee a school district as representatives from the community. So today, I've been busy. High school graduation and now this, but I did catch in the news that the U.S. government has made Juneteenth a national holiday. Juneteenth is a holiday that I grew up in Syosset High School, only 15, 20 minutes away from here, not learning about or not knowing about. And I suspect that many students in their high schools of my generation, which is a depressing thought. I gave a speech to all the high school graduates today, and now my generation seems like I'm very clearly removed from them. That many folks in my generation did not learn about. The teaching of history is about understanding other perspectives and is about understanding what happened and trying to recognize that what happened in the past is something that can affect our understanding of our world today.
Absolutely.
And from what you're saying, I can tell you agree with that. I'm also, again, not a history teacher, and there are at least two that I know of in this room right now who could probably say this a lot more articulately than I can. But I do want to pivot to say that here in North Shore, we are interested in everyone being able to express their voices and being respectful of other people's voices. There is no interest whatsoever in anyone blaming anyone else in this district for their beliefs. We have students who believe all kinds of things because we have a very diverse community in terms of a diversity of beliefs, certainly, and that's to be respected. That's a community. And
Which
further,
really is a beautiful thing.
it
to
is,
be
and that's the world in
diverse
which we're going to be
and
sending
to
these
learn
families.
from each other and to really respect and
Yes.
learn. Yes, and to
We
respect.
sent 240 kids off to the world today, and it was a beautiful thing. And we're hoping that their experiences here and what they learned here will provide them with the tools to be successful in the world beyond North Shore. And understanding other people's experiences is a big part of that. But I'm glad you raised the point you did at the end, because I want to be very clear. It is not the point, the goal, and it is directly counter to the mission of this district to have students feel shameful or bad or wrong about who and what they are.
And confused, if I may say,
Sure.
because the language in the world is starting possibly to be changed as how we refer to one another, right? When they don't want, and not that it's, something that's happening and permanent yet, right? But it is on the table when they talk about a woman not being a woman anymore, right? Being referred or spoken to or addressed as a woman, right? These are types of issues that we're dealing with today as parents. You can understand. I have a 6-year-old, okay, and I'm very concerned. I am a mother. I carried him, The most beautiful day in my life was the day that I gave birth to Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
I am mother, and I will forever be a mother, okay? And for every woman that's on this stage, I can say if you are a mother, you can't take that away from us. You cannot. So when you want to be identified as something, whatever it is, I am completely, wholeheartedly for it. But these types of issues, they're starting to rise, that are beginning to threaten me being who I am or being addressed or seen and known as mom or Denise or a daughter or a sister.
Mm-hmm.
It's issues that are beginning to arise, and it affects not only us, forget us, we're the parents that are doing everything for them. It's for them. That's what it's about. The issue is, I'm sorry, 1 second, and then I'll
sure.
stop. One big issue for me is what I'm learning about what's going on in the schools, where perhaps there'll be like a sharing of bathrooms, for instance, or there'll be such neutrality that, there won't be boys being boys and girls being girls, and suddenly there's something that might be put into our curriculum that will start to confuse our children. For instance, and I'm going to just share this because I think it's a big concern. There's a substitute teacher.
Sorry, one thing we do have as rules, we don't talk about individuals specifically. And that is a hard and fast rule that I am going to have to cut that.
So then I'll just say that we are concerned if anybody is around our children that is working for the district, it's hard for us to know that there was recently someone that worked directly with students in one of our schools in our district that taught on that day that they were subbing to teach them that it's okay for girls to kiss girls, for boys to kiss boys, for girls to marry girls, and boys to marry boys. Now, I come from a family, Greek heritage, from both sides. And I want you to understand, I have a sister, I'm the middle child, I have a brother. My brother's 40. He was married to his husband a couple of years
I do need to
ago.
bring it to closure. I'm sorry, we have a lot.
No, well, this is important, and I'll
Well,
stop.
but I'm sorry, wait.
One moment, please, this is important.
But I just want to be clear with you that
He
one of
was
the
married
rules,
to his
one of the rules
husband a
of this
couple of
district
years ago,
is that
and
I
he
do
just
get to
had this-
run the meetings, and I'm not going to cut you off this second, but I need to bring this
Okay.
to closure because we do have
So
a very full
he
agenda.
was married to his husband, my brother, a couple of years ago. Through Syracuse, he had their beautiful children, okay? And so, you know, we are from a family that we are very loving of all the differences that we have within our own family, out of love and understanding and acceptance, okay? So I don't want that to be messaged here, that that's not okay.
Okay.
But as a mother, married now to my husband with my son, I don't want anybody to dictate or to create an environment that I am not creating in my home. When I have different beliefs, or when, or if I have a belief of whatever Andrew decides when he's old enough to understand who he is, and he decides, I will support him 1,000%.
Okay.
But I don't want anyone else to be the one to confuse him or to maybe even get into his mind to somehow decide that for him.
Okay, I appreciate your thoughts. No one is going to be indoctrinating your child to change who they are, but as they proceed through our district, they will be, by the nature of being in a public school, they will be exposed to
Of course.
many students from many different experiences, backgrounds,
Of
beliefs,
course.
positions, identities.
Of course.
And that
But
reconciliation
they need to
with,
be protected, that there's no one that's older, like a teacher or anybody that's older that's going to come in and trying to teach them that. That is unacceptable.
Okay.
Okay? And if you need a record of that and the parents that were part of that
I would say if there's a
classroom,
direct
I
concern,
can
that's
send
when
it.
I would direct you
can
to
send
follow
it.
up with.
I can send it.
Yeah, start
It's
with,
happened numerous
so
times.
the chain of command is to go directly to the building
Thank you.
leader,
Thank you.
and then they can carry that up for you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Again, thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to reclose public comment. And we'll return to our business as soon as my computer pops back on. Thank you. Betty, we did action 16, we're up to action 17? Okay, so I'd like to lump action 17 and 18 together, which is the acceptance of donations, which we're very appreciative of, and also acceptance of the 2021-2022 school board education calendar. Is there a motion on those two items?
Motion.
Thank you, Rich. A second? Any questions or comments?
I have one on the calendar.
Sure.
The November 18th date, I'm always away at a psychology convention.
Okay. And
And I don't know if we want to, if possible to change it, I would not want to miss a meeting.
so I would say this, obviously, 100% attendance is not always required at board meetings, although it's hard to miss one. If you were to miss one, that would be fine. I would say because it's pretty far off, if you want to propose a different date, maybe you could informally send that around to at that point, it'll be the new board to
Okay.
see how that works. And if we can find an easy way to reschedule with the new interim superintendent and everyone else, I'm generally around. Where am I going? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor of those two action items, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Action item 19, the adoption of policies. Is there a motion
Motion.
and a second? Any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Action item 20, the approval of budget transfers. Motion?
Mo-
I hear a motion.
Second.
Second. Any questions or comments on the budget transfers? Trustee Russo?
I have a question. So one of the budget transfers is, I'm looking for my paper, it got lost somewhere along the way. I believe it's 297,000 to pay for Savin, our construction manager, on the EPC, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the contract provided for a management fee that was paid to the EPC, and then we separately approved a contract for the architect, which was included in the 18-year payback calculation, but then we retained Savin separately. So that those fees are not included in the payback calculation, is that correct?
The management fee wasn't included. The energy performance contract, if you recall, when we're doing the contract, if we had to include Savin's fee in the payback period, it will not cover all the projects, if you recall. So it was decided at construction steering committee meeting to have Savin. It was proposed to have Savin supervise it independently because construction management is not part of the.
Well, they have their own, right?
They
So,
have their
so
own, they have their own management.
right, the ESCO has its own
Correct.
management system, and the board asked us to get an agent that would do construction management for the board, separate and apart from the construction management that
Correct.
was part of the ESCO. And so, no, you were right, that is not part of the.
It's not part of the 18-year payback.
It's not part of the 18-year
It's not
payback,
part
but it's
of the
something that the
18-year
board
payback.
requested, that we wanted additional oversight of the.
No,
the-
I understand that.
Yep.
I just want to be sure that I'm understanding it correctly.
It is not.
Because there
You're
was a
correct.
management fee for the escrow themselves.
Correct.
Then there was we did approve an architect's contract, but that was actually that was part of, I believe, it was calculated into the
The
18-year
engineers.
payback.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right, but then we as a construction steering decided to retain Savin. So that
Correct.
money is not included in the 18-year payback.
Correct.
Correct.
Anybody else have a question on this? No? So the budget transfers are covering 350,000 of it is for the track and field and changes to the PA system. And those are items that were going to be covered in the potentially in the capital reserve or in the bond, and the capital reserve didn't pass. So that's one item that we're taking care of with fund balance. Do we plan on taking care of any of the other discrete projects like the weights in the wrestling room or the ball fields, renovations of the ball fields with any of the additional fund balance? I didn't see it anywhere, but I don't know if that's going to be proposed at any point.
Not this year.
No, this year.
Thank you.
Other questions on budget transfers? Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'm going to lump actions 21 and 22, which are the acceptance of the federal single audit, which was required based on the grants that we received, and the approval of the corrective action plan for the internal audit. Is there a motion on those two, 21 and 22?
Motion.
Thank you, trustee Vizza.
Second.
Second, trustee McCary. Any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Action 23, which is the approval to dispose of inventory. Motion?
Motion.
So here's a second. Questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Action 24, approval of a resolution authorizing commencement of litigation. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Okay, action 25, approval of amendment to an agreement between North Shore and Nassau BOCES. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to lump actions 26 and 27, agreement with North Shore and Denise Longobardi, and with Elisa Waters. Is there a motion on those two together? 26 and 27. And a second?
Second.
Question on either one? Comments, Marianne?
I have a comment on number 27, Elisa Waters. The contract that we have just says peer leadership training. What kind, and I know it was at the high school, what was entailed in the peer leadership training? Do you know what that was about?
Sorry, I would have to get back to you with more specifics, but this is something that we've done annually with the social workers at the middle school for the peer leadership clubs.
I'm just curious as to what what type of peer leadership was involved and what that entailed, and was it subject specific or?
Yeah, so would you like an agenda outline of the training materials, that kind of a thing? Is that the kind of information?
That would be helpful.
Yeah,
Did
I'll
you
get that for you.
see, did you see Schedule A, there's like a letter that details the peer leader training?
Yeah, but
saw.
I wasn't really, I was not really understanding exactly what was entailed.
It says here, like, develop tools of empathy and interpersonal skills, grow awareness of issues connected to bullying and harassment in order to serve as role models in the community, and it goes on.
Yeah,
It's the last
I know.
page.
But I would like a little more detail, if possible.
Any other questions or comments on the 27 or 26, which are together? Okay, all in favor of 26 and 27, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I would like to lump 28, 29, 30, and 31 together. Is there a motion on 28 through 31?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Questions or comments? These are various bids and contract for health services. Okay, all in favor of 28 through 31, say aye.
Aye.
Action item 32, which is several special education consultant agreements. Is there a motion on 32? Letters A through Q. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And a second? Thank you. Questions or comments? All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you. I'd like to combine 33 and 34, which is the approval of special education tuition agreement and approval of a special education services contract, two, in fact. Is there a motion on 33 and 34?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Comments, discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
35, board committee reports.
I'll go. We had a safety and security meeting this week. Basically, we spoke about the finalization of the district-wide safety plan, and that it will be going up for a 30-day comment period to the public. And I just wanted to ask Peter, because I forgot to ask John Ahern at the meeting, is that something that we could put on the website? Because this is the district-wide safety plan that doesn't have specific plans that would create some sort of the confidential plans.
Yeah, I believe the answer to that is yes, but we'll follow up on that.
Okay, thank you. And then the meeting was relatively short as it goes, and as they have gone for the end of the year. And we just kind of wrapped up things with the bond construction, which I don't want to step on a construction steering committee meeting. And then some aspects of just traffic by the Glenwood Landing School and how there was connections with law enforcement to monitor that, which I actually experienced. I didn't get a ticket, but I saw but law enforcement was down on Scudder's Lane, and they were in Cody and on Viola and Glenwood Road, which had some traffic problems that were
Great.
noted by the community. So, and once again, John and his team do a wonderful job and with everything that went on this year. So thank you, Olivia and Peter, for giving them the resources to keep our schools safe and secure.
Thank you. And thank you for serving. Any other board committees?
Yeah, the Legislative Action Committee
Mhm.
held its last meeting of the school year, and it was looking forward to next year. They want to be, they're eager to do things. And so just in terms of some of the ideas that they came up with for next year, in terms of research, again, continuing looking at IDA properties in the district, and also looking at bills that were introduced at the state level that might relate to our district but never passed this year, and that could come up again. They would like to engage with the lobbyists and meet with the lobbyists early in the school year. And the other, there's a lot of openings on the committee. Okay, so we have 2 members of the committee, of course, who will be joining the board. So those are open, and then there was a 3rd vacancy from earlier in the year. And then you have 2 members whose terms are up. And so we should send something out to them to see if they are looking to continue, and that's Jess Ward and Larry Ruisi. But something probably should go out pretty soon. I think last year when we did the interviews, I think it was September. I think it was fairly early in the year. And so we did have something that went out in the summer.
We usually send it out in August, Tim, like late August, so that people will get it and they won't be on vacation.
Right.
And we try and get them in September so we can conduct the interviews right away. We had an unfortunate year one year where we did not send out the flyer in the summer. And then it was October, November before we actually had the LAC constituted. So if we send the flyer out in August, you know, people are looking in their mail for their students, you know, assignments and whatever, and they're back from vacation. So I
Yes.
think we also put it in the paper too, right? We put it in the local paper?
I don't recall. I know we did a district-wide mailing to every resident.
We do the district-wide mailing, but I think
yeah.
we also put, some years we put something in the paper, I think, too.
Okay. Betty, I think you did this pretty recently, but if you could just re-email me, I apologize, the current roster. I will reach out to those two members.
I've got it.
Oh, you have it?
I'll send it out
Perfect.
to Jen, and also I'll reach out to Larry and.
If you would, that would be
Jess
fantastic.
To
That we
see
can
what
at
they're
least
looking to do.
Get a sense. That's great.
Okay.
And I think, Peter, if you could just ask Shelley to get the most recent flyer to us, we can start the ball rolling. But yeah, it should go out over the summer so we can fill those vacancies early. To your point, Tim, the advocacy on legislative hopes that did not come to pass in conjunction with the lobbyist is key. And I also think that in terms of the role of LAC as a liaison between the board and the community to help folks understand and appreciate the impact of the pending LIPA situation would be something that I'd be looking forward to bringing up also with that committee. That could help.
Okay.
I think those two issues intertwine.
Very much so. Yep.
Great. Thank you. Other board committees?
Wellness meets tomorrow. We met a month ago and we discussed the challenge success results, which we all saw at this point.
Great,
I
thank you.
think we did construction steering the last meeting, did we not?
I think, I don't remember if we did it last meeting.
Well, we
Yeah.
have the groundbreaking tomorrow for the middle school.
Mm-hmm.
So the phase one of the middle school will be done in 2 phases, phase 1 this summer and phase 1 the second, next summer. The plans have been submitted, to SED for the second, for the EPC, right? We're waiting for approval on some of the mechanicals on that. Phase 2 is in the drawing stage. That should be submitted probably this fall. Right? And so that we have it back
Correct.
in January, so we could do the bids. We generally put out the bids January, February, so the work gets done over the summer.
We actually hope to have those target to have the approvals back earlier than the winter, sometime in the late. I think the late fall.
Summer? Yeah.
Not the end of the summer, but probably like sort of mid-fall, so you can tee them up for competitive bidding. They're almost there. They're coming along.
Right.
Phase 2.
Phase 2.
Yeah.
Right, and we are actually going to do the front entrance, which is a miracle of miracles. I've only been talking about it for 8 years, but it's finally coming to fruition. That's this summer too.
Correct.
And the security is this summer,
Correct.
for the security booths.
Correct.
I appreciate we making some headway on the sign, the electronic sign, and potentially going ahead there. I also appreciate, I think our residents will appreciate that while lights were certainly a big topic of conversation around election season, sound is, I think, a very important one. So the fact that the district has been responsive to those neighbors to invest some money in improving the quality of life and also improving the experience of the games by redirecting that sound system is a plus that we discussed at construction steering. Can I just ask, Peter, if you know off the top of your head, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but in terms of the air conditioning, a lot of folks have been talking about masks and air. When will, with the bond, we approved air conditioning for every classroom, and we have a plan for that. Can you just very, very rough sketch talk about, because you are much more familiar about it than I am?
Okay. So the
and I apologize for not asking you in advance.
No, it's okay. No worries. This one I can answer. The energy performance contract is at State Ed. We are waiting for that final approval. I think we're getting close. Once we receive that EPC approval, then we can start to work on the split unit installation at the middle school and the high school. And when that happens, then the window units that are in the middle school and the high school can be transferred to the elementary schools. So I think it is, I don't think we're ready to say it's not in the cards for the fall, but it is probably an ambitious timeline in light of where we were, because the EPC got a little waylaid at the.
So for reopening, dicey proposition, but theoretically for the next warm season, which would be about 11 months from now, we're hopeful of that.
I would hope so. Yeah, I would hope so. We know it's a major priority, and a lot of the work can happen on the outside of the building, so it's not disruptive to the instructional program.
Okay, thank you. I think there's understandable confusion in the community that we voted for a bond, we approved the bond, but as we all know up here, but maybe folks who follow us a little less closely don't understand, is it takes a heck of a long time to get these things approved, to get them for State Ed, to get them designed, to get them approved, and then of course the contract and the actual happening, and many of them you can't do while students are actually in school. But I appreciate the work of our buildings and grounds crew to keep moving, and of course Olivia, keep that moving upstate.
We should point out that some of the air conditioning is being done through the capital reserve. So the middle school locker rooms and the library, I think, are capital reserve money, and that will be done this summer, right? As part of phase
It's only the middle
one.
school library that is being done this summer.
Yeah, it's being done this summer, right?
There are no air conditions in the locker room.
I thought we were doing the gym. We were doing the locker rooms, and I thought we were air conditioning the middle school gym. No?
No, not that I remember.
I know the library is being done for sure through the capital reserve.
No.
I must be
no.
confusing it with the high school that was air conditioned.
It's the high school.
It was the high school that was air conditioned, Jim. Okay.
No, it's the high school cafeteria that was accidentally air conditioned.
Right. But we did have the high school gym also done to a capital reserve.
Yes.
All right, so I'm getting them confused, but the middle school library will definitely be done this summer, right?
Yes.
That's part of it.
Yep.
So there will be some spaces that will be done,
Mhm.
just not the classrooms.
Not the
Yeah,
individual.
large
classrooms.
spaces, not the classrooms.
Right. And we just, John Hall had, and his team had, I think, 11 or 12 units, window units that we installed last week during during those hotter days.
Okay. Are there other board committee reports that we have not hit? Okay, I'll move on to old business. Is there any old business?
Old business?
Please.
This is sort of old business, new business, but I think it fits better under old business. Someone asked us last meeting what what the close vote on the budget, which has historically passed by larger margins, meant to us as a board. And I think, it was so new that we haven't even yet had a chance to digest what those votes mean. I don't think we could say, well, if, more people showed up, it would have passed by a larger number, or if more people showed up, it would have failed. I think what we really need to do, though, is we should probably think about creating a survey over the summer to send out to the community about the vote. It obviously be done anonymously, but something along the lines of why did you vote did you vote, first of all? How did you vote? What made you vote that way? Have you voted differently in the past? I think it would be interesting for us if we crafted carefully a survey that would give us some data on how we maybe could communicate differently, where the community is at. Of course, it will only be as good as people respond, but the vote is only as good as people who go out and vote, right? So I just think it's an idea we should think about crafting a survey. Did you vote differently in prior years? What information were you missing? What information would you have liked? What information did you find helpful in making your decision? Things like that.
Any other trustees? Tim, are you?
No, I just think it's a good idea. I know when I was out in Northport, I know Greg's out, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to be a survey when you went in to vote. We didn't look at them, but if they were there for if the budget failed, and then you had those surveys to look at. And it was, so when you went in to vote, you walked out, you filled out a survey, and that was it.
Just like when you go to if you go shopping anymore and you get your receipt online, they ask you, or you fly the airlines, they ask you, how was your experience? We like your feedback. So, I'm obviously not trying to ascertain who voted where. What I want to ascertain is what happened, because I think if you only passed by that margin, there was not one particular group voting one particular way. You had to have votes that went across the board over, multiple demographics. So I'm not really looking to identify demographics. What I am looking for is, ideas as to why people supported the budget, why they didn't, what we could do better, how we could communicate better, what kind of information they would find helpful, where would they look for information where they couldn't find it. I mean, for some people, it's very easy to go online. For other people, it's not so easy to go online. Where else could we put that information out to make it more accessible to community members?
Okay, I think it's a good idea too. I think, but I would suggest that we wait until Tom gets here, because I know that Tom is really talking about engaging in conversations with the community. That's one of his the points that he really stressed at those meetings that he's been on, to try to think about how that would fit into. I do think it's a good idea, the sort of research and understanding of why folks felt the way they did about the budget last time. But I'd like to see how that fits into kind of a holistic effort to communicate with the.
Well, I'm
with
putting
the
it, I
community.
didn't really anticipate that we would do it before Dr. Dolan's arrival. I anticipated this would be something we would work on over the summer.
Okay.
And send out maybe in September when people are back and they're
Okay.
focused on their emails.
Okay.
It really doesn't make sense to send it out over the summer when people are traveling. But I know Olivia is already preparing this year's budget. She's not waiting till December 1st to do, next year's budget. So we're on 21, 22. Olivia is on 22, 23, and potentially on 23, 24, if I know Olivia. She's not just pulling that book out in December and saying, let me dust it off. So if she's already crafting the budget, I think we should think about what information we would like and how to craft a survey possibly, and then send it out in September so that we get the feedback back so we can have that maybe influence the way we craft the budget.
Okay, that's perfect. So
That was my thought.
next meeting, it'll be old business for sure, not old new, and then we'll all know it's here, and we'll talk about a timeline.
I would add a comment to that in that I didn't go to every tent talk, but I went to at least half, and I went to the last one. And at the last one, it was very telling. The feedback some of the attendees gave us was, you need to do a better job communicating. And they were across different community cohorts, let's say. So there was a couple or three who were, old, probably almost retirees. There was a new dad with a young child with a new house and mortgage. And I think they were some of the conversations, and we do have a lot of very interested community members. I'm going to take this into a second portion of my comment, that have kind of by proxy taken on an educational role. And I'd like to see the board working with administration in a fashion kind of from several years ago when Dr. Melnick was here with the coffee talks, and he would bring the two board members to do an educational talk, and they were really, really substantive and useful, and it was our message. It was our education to the public. This year, for some reason, the message kind of got out of our hands and got into Facebook, and I didn't love it. And as a board member, I don't use social media to comment generally. I think I made one comment, and I established the fact that I was speaking as an individual, not as a board member. So if we would want to welcome community members into our fold and educating the community, that's where the Budget and Finance Subcommittee of the board may work for us. Because we did see community members who were very passionate about educating the community on our fiscal plans and how we utilize funds in this district to support the work of the district. So I will pursue that idea again. And in another month at that microphone, I'll probably pursue it again. But if we really would like to kind of bring out those individuals who are very well-intentioned and intelligent and have done a lot of work of educating themselves on it, if we do want to pull them in, I think that would be a proper forum. And again, that might be something Dr. Dolan would entertain. That's my take on that particular role in educating the public on the budget.
I appreciate those comments, and I know they were well said, but I just want to clarify also, it's not a if we want to bring the community in, of course.
Yeah, well,
We want to bring the community in.
and we do in many areas.
Yes, we do, and we try, and we want that, but I think that it has not been achieved to the degree that we would like. So it's not a question of if we want them, and of course I know you know that, because you've always been an advocate for bringing more folks into that conversation, but achieving it is going to have to be a goal, because the intent is certainly there. Okay, is there other old business?
I do actually.
Yes, please.
I'm hoping I can get the opt-out rates, the final data. I know I just had the information from the first test. So if somebody could email that to me when you have a chance, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I saw your email
Yeah.
and I did not have a chance
All
to
right,
put it
don't
together
worry.
today, but we'll
Okay.
get it to you. I didn't even
Okay, yeah, no
send it
problem.
forward. We'll get it to you.
And the second thing I just wanted to comment, I read Chris's board update, and I want to thank you for adding in the .4 for the elementary STEM teacher. I know that a lot of elementary school parents are going to be very excited about that, so I really appreciate that you listen to the STEM committee's recommendations and all the parents who have advocated for that for a while. So thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. A lot of good stuff. We're using those grant funds to real direct student help, which is important. We always talk about tying our budget to our student needs, and that was not a budgetary item. It was new funds that came in for assistance, and but they are tied at the hip. So thank you. Okay, Marion.
So when do we set, because I know July is the organizational meeting, but the agenda items, because I had brought up and I thought there was an interest in the board in the IB program or review of the IB program. So when do we determine what topics will be discussed when?
Well, in terms of topics for discussion, that's one thing. I thought we had said that could be more, it was larger than just a discussion, and that it would be more of a potentially a goal topic. So we discuss goals for next year. That's right, what I took from it.
Okay, so we'll talk about it then in July.
Peter, when do we do goal setting?
I thought we did goals in July, and I kind of thought
Mostly August.
August.
Usually August.
August.
Yeah.
And then we finalize.
Yeah, so you'll let,
Okay, so we
typically what happens is we spend the summer as a leadership team talking about where the status of the goals from the prior year that inform the future goals. I usually put out an email or with my board letter to solicit information on topics that are of interest to the board. And then that all gets massaged over the course of the summer, and we present that to you usually in early August via the letter. And then in August, the end of August, we have a preliminary discussion about it with usually an adoption of the goals in one of the first September meetings.
Man, speaking out of turn, but I agree that it's worth a very good look. I think we're gonna have a lot of goals for next year, but I think that should make the short list. So definitely bring it up again at reorg and as the new administration, well.
I will.
Very good. You don't need any more invitation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for old business?
Yeah, I just had one thing. With the challenge success survey, I mean, some of the numbers were alarming with the sense of belonging and the engagement. And I hope the board next year really researches that and see if there's a cultural issue or what it is, why kids are feeling that way. That needs to be addressed. And so if you're talking about goals, maybe that could be a goal.
I would agree with that, Tim. That was really my take on the information. I mean, I could read the survey and the survey results, but what I would like is that not just to be put on a shelf. I would like to know what the recommendations of the administration are to address that, what concrete steps we're going to take, and what what kind of money we need to allocate to achieve, to implement the steps or recommendations that the administration is purporting as a result of the data it received. Because the data is the data, but we don't want to lose that data and forget what to do about it.
So we will be discussing this in the next wellness committee meeting. It'll be the beginning of the discussion of how to synthesize that data and develop an action plan. And then Mr. Doherty and I will work with Dr. Dolan and talk about how we can bring that into the SEL committee next year and develop some and wellness and develop some very concrete action plans. Also, two things, the ARPA funding and the CURSA funding actually the CURSA funding, we have put allocated a lot of funding towards mental health support services, specifically additional social workers, but that the data will direct how we use those folks. And then the other thing I think that we're seeing is the DEI work and the inclusion work connects very much to the SEL work. We see a very close link, and you see that in that data. So those are two just general themes that we're going to talk more about.
Okay, great. I look forward to it.
I agree. I think those are also goal things. I think we should also remind ourselves that we have a very clear and indisputable goal of hiring a new permanent superintendent. So we already have a pretty full slate for next year, but doesn't mean we can't take on more. And we'll discuss it as we go. Other new business?
New business.
Sure.
So I have a question actually for Chris and the committee, some of the committees. When we select speakers to speak at the different schools, do we in any way do any sort of background check on social media? How what kind of vetting do we do for the people that are selected to speak to our students?
I'd say social media is definitely a part of it. The most important vetting is the work they've done in other schools. A lot of the speakers that we bring to you come from recommendations from other principals in Nassau County or other assistant superintendents. We share a lot of that information. If we're referring to a particular speaker, I could definitely find out, process that was used. But those are the two, just in my own experience. The recommendations from other schools are a big part because we share that information as administrators.
Well, I'm bringing it up to you because it was a speaker, and I don't want to identify the speaker. There was a speaker, and I received emails and text messages about some of the social media posts of that particular speaker. So I think we really need to have a system in place as to how we vet speakers and what we check on their social media. And there were some commentary from this particular speaker that it was shortly after the speaker spoke that seemed negative towards the district. So I would just, I think that we need to have a system in place to vet these speakers in a better manner. And, the world has changed, right? We don't think about it as much, but other people are picking up their phones and their tablets and, they're on social media all the time. So I think, maybe we should think about what protocols we would like to put into place when we are inviting someone into our district to speak to our children.
So maybe just give us a paragraph or two kind of explaining the next update, just what the current processes are.
Sure.
So we can have that sense as a baseline.
Yeah, we'll do.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, Marion. Other new business? All right, I will ask for, let me just say before we go, Lisa and Tim, good luck to both of you. I appreciate it. Peter, good luck to you. And frankly, Marianne, Andrea, Rich, Sarah, Chris, and Olivia, good luck to us as well. We got a lot ahead. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Thank you very much, Tim and Lisa, for your service. Thank you, Peter, for 4 years of leadership. We appreciate everything that you've done. And good luck. Don't be a stranger in Bronxville.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
That's
everybody.
a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Motion.
I think by acclamation, we're ready to go.
All right.